It's at shop.fppradio.com. Helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. Reuters reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday refused to revive a Puerto Rico debt restructuring law, putting the U.S. territory at risk of a messy default unless Congress this month passes legislation to help the Caribbean island survive its crippling fiscal crisis. The justices ruled 5-2 that Puerto Rico's 2014 statute, which would have let it cut billions of dollars in debt at public utilities over creditors' objections, conflicted with federal bankruptcy law. The justices left in place a 2015 appeals court ruling invalidating the law called the Recovery Act. Passage of legislation now advancing in the U.S. Congress is likely the only remaining option to restructure Puerto Rico's debt in a bid to avoid a default in the U.S. territory of about 3.5 million people that is burdened by a $70 billion debt load it has said it cannot pay. The U.S. House of Representatives last Thursday overwhelmingly passed legislation creating a federal control board to help Puerto Rico cope with its debt and sent the bill to the U.S. Senate for consideration. Puerto Rico does not have Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the Supreme Court, said Puerto Rico is not considered a U.S. state in one part of bankruptcy law, meaning it cannot authorize its municipal agencies to restructure debt. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg dissented. This has been FPP Radio News.
From the creation of the Bible in 1912 by a struggling Baltimore book salesman to the day in 1493 when Christopher Columbus and his crew looked back on their voyage and realized what they truly discovered was themselves. The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On July 21st, 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the surface of the moon. The moon, for Christ's sake.
This is Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed. Jesus H. Christ, Houston. We're on the moon. Over.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy that. We cannot believe you are on the moon.
I'm descending the ladder. Just one more step and I'm wholly living. I absolutely am standing on the surface of the moon. Jesus H. Christ in a chicken basket.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited here to join us. Bring up whatever's on your mind. We'll give you the toll-free numbers, the Skype username here in moments. And it's Ian and Johnson in the studio with you here tonight. There's more information obviously now coming out about the shooting situation in Orlando, what is being touted as the largest mass shooting in U.S. history.
Which is completely incorrect, even though it's being touted as that.
Right. You need to factor in the government mass shootings as well, which the media hasn't done.
Right, sure.
But we are learning more about the gunman, in this case, Omar Mateen, and the folks over at antiwar.com actually have an article about it. The relatively straightforward narrative of the Sunday morning Orlando attack, the single ISIS-inspired gunman acting on the basis of the group's anti-gay policies, seems to be falling apart, with latest reports dramatically confusing the matter and painting gunman Omar Mateen in a much different light. After yesterday's shock and the ordeal began to clear, patrons at the attacked nightclub Pulse discovered something incredible and totally absent from the initial reports, and that is that Mateen wasn't some unfamiliar attacker, but rather a regular at the bar, and he had been coming in for at least 3 years.
Right.
A repeat visitor who used to drink to excess at Pulse, saying he couldn't at home because his family was really strict. Mateen was also on a gay dating app used by other patrons of the club, and one man reported that he had exchanged messages with him and a friend.
I mean, my problem with this is the conflicting stories that come out in these situations are just the news starts to go nuts. I mean, the first news that came out was that Omar Mateen had a conversation with his father earlier, and he had told him that he was very bothered by seeing a gay couple kissing. So, but now it turns into he's a regular at the club, and that he was on gay dating apps. I just,
Well, maybe he has one life for his family and another life for himself, meaning that maybe he doesn't want his dad to know that he's gay.
Anything's possible. I mean, I just don't know what the truth is on these things anymore. Unless you could show me a link to his gay dating profile and it was like obvious and that's published information. And it's not like using some sort of like mug shots or whatever shots that they got of him recently, or
if
things,
it's not a brand new profile,
or if it's like pictures pulled from like a Facebook or something like that. I mean, it's like, come on, I don't know what to trust with the media anymore because there's so much, can we, this is exactly the type of story that creates a clickbait narrative.
Well, it is hard to know what to trust, but ultimately I find independent media that you can verify more trustworthy than
I don't. Look at like Natural News and like
I said
all these...
that you can verify. So if they were to cite their source, and you could go and look, like you said, at the social media profile or the dating site profile, and I went and I looked, and I don't immediately see where that is coming from. Apparently, it's just a report from someone who actually went to the club. So there are a lot of claims out there, obviously. But, the mainstream media report was just to get the information out initially about, the shooting happened. Here's the alleged shooter. Here are the numbers of dead people. And that's what the mainstream media was putting out there at first. And now we're learning more about this guy that, if he's on a gay dating website and has been a regular at a gay-friendly bar for 3 years, then there's definitely more to this story.
Sure, but those are big ifs. And all I'm saying is, like, I don't know why. I don't know why in this story, just as I'm seeing stuff, I just feel extremely pessimistic about a lot of the news. I just want to sort of urge people to, like, hey, follow the money. Could this news source be just making up something clickbait? I mean, when you say, oh, somebody said this, okay, it's a dating profile that happened to be created 3 days ago. It's like... Just these are
people who are regulars at the bar who are saying this.
We're presupposing that they're regulars at the bar. How do you know that?
What else could they be? Are you suggesting that they would be government agents?
No, I'm suggesting that there's somebody who's making up a story for the newspaper so that they get money.
Just to get attention?
Yeah, money.
Why are they going to get money? They don't don't get money from a newspaper when you conduct an interview.
You can, absolutely, and who's to say that this is not somebody who just works for the newspaper?
Well, I suspect there have been multiple reports. At least I have seen multiple reports about him going to the bar on a regular basis. I guess, you're right, Johnson. They could all have come from the same news source. I haven't.
If it's multiple reports, that's interesting.
I haven't drilled down to find out, if these are all coming from the same news source or not.
Right. Because that's also an easy possibility. Is that what happens is that one news source posts something about this, and then as it goes with news these days, it's everybody's just reposting the same exact story over and over and over again.
Yeah, and over time, as people get the opportunity to vet these claims and do what you're suggesting be done here, then we'll learn what's true, or we'll get closer to what is true. We can never probably know the true absolute truth of what has gone on here. But I
guess I'm just of the thing, like, I'm not even all that, I mean, not to dump on your prep here, but I'm not all that interested in talking about it yet, because right now what I'm seeing on the news is I've looked at these different stories, and there's so many contradictions and claims and counterclaims, and, people, and this one really ticks me off, is when people are like, it's a hoax. The whole thing's a hoax. It didn't happen. It's
you knew that was coming.
There's all the and there's and it especially bugs me when it's people in the liberty community who are these kinds of conspiracy theorists, because it makes me just ill. I mean, it really that's just disgusting. I just am hesitant to want, on this story until like more kind of facts have been settled upon by people who are out doing real investigations into this. Talking about it too much.
I tend to think that antiwar.com does a pretty good job of looking into the stories that they promote. Mm-hmm. And that's the source of this story here, a summary of what some more that has been learned about this Omar Mateen. It's coming from antiwar.com. And, of course, they're citing some of the stories like CJAD, which is a Canadian news site, And then Gawker.com is where they got the claim of that he was on a gay dating app. Anyway, let me continue here with this, and we'll see what you think, Johnson, because I appreciate your skepticism. I think that's good. But at the same time, we're doing talk radio.
Well, of course.
So, it's important to talk about the issues in the moment. So I understand that maybe...
Is it though? Really?
You would rather talk
I'm gonna call you out on that because a lot of the times you don't want to cover the story that everyone else is covering.
That's true.
I'm calling you out on that.
A lot of the time, that's true. But we are open phones every single night, and anyone who wants to talk about whatever that story might be certainly can. If it's boring to me, I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
But I will if someone calls in.
I do think that this is a gigantic issue. I do.
It's an ongoing issue.
I don't
know
that I'd want. I guess my interest in talking about this is more about the. What's going on in society, what's going on. I don't want to necessarily speculate about details about what's going on in the case right now because I don't think that they're settled in any way.
But that's just the thing. You don't need to have it settled to have a conversation.
Right.
So
I think we can absolutely have a conversation about this story.
You can say if this guy was indeed a client at this bar, then what does that mean for this whole discussion? Does that mean this guy is like a self-hating gay guy, or that he was just super mad at being rejected by some of the patrons of this bar? These are some of the questions you can ask, and you don't need to know for sure what the absolute truth is to speculate based on information coming in. Right. So keep that in mind. Obviously, this information is coming from sources that we don't really know for sure.
Right.
We haven't verified them, but then again, we never do. I mean, we're just talk show hosts, so there's only so much effort that we can put in to verifying a story is true. And kind of sometimes we leave it to you, our listeners, or other co-hosts on the show to call out questions. In
this particular case, there's extra special reason for skepticism at this time because there's so much misinformation being flying around, and because I think in particular around this particular issue where it's gay people getting killed, there's a lot of there's a lot of people that have personal opinions and will gleefully share misinformation.
No doubt. And so welcome to the program here where you can share whatever misinformation you want, and listeners will need to take it with a grain of salt. Same thing coming from the show host. Just because we're behind microphones doesn't mean we're infallible. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We'll talk more about the case, and you can share your thoughts on Free Talk Live.
Fellas, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all. Oh, no. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration. Plus, a free extra gift so sensual, we can't mention it on the radio. And to top it all off, we'll even throw in free shipping on your entire order. And no, we're not teasing. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type BABE33 for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use offer code BABE33 at adamandeve.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life, too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Are you retired or facing retirement and you're afraid your income is going to be less than you'd like? I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and I want to show you a low-cost way to create your own business working around your current schedule, creating extra income that will last for years to come by joining Dr. Wallach's crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com, or call 866-257-3105 for a recorded message.
Do you ever say, I could care less, when you really mean the opposite? You mean to say, I couldn't care less. It's a common mistake. You are judged by how you speak, especially if you're looking for work, with so many more applicants than openings now. But even if you're not, avoiding common misstatements will help you make the most of the dozens of conversations and transactions that crowd your daily routine. So whatever you say, don't say whatever as a single-word sentence. It's the most annoying expression in the American English language, according to a recent poll. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. But seriously, at the end of the day, you'll want to avoid this scenario, sounding like everyone else. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Well, what is the truth about Omar Mateen? We don't know, but there are new reports, and new reports that kind of call into, I don't know, some question about what the official story is on this. And, of course, the official story is that this guy is some sort of ISIS agent who has gone into a club and shot it up. Approximately 50 people are dead, more than 50 wounded.
That's the other thing on this that's bothering me, too, is a lot of the news stories that I'm seeing around this is the use of the vague language around, well, does it matter whether or not he, could have potentially been gay or, partook in, going to this club. Really what's important here is that it's terrorism and that he was radicalized here in the United States. And when you use phrases like that, it's really vague. And I think that most people, when you say radicalized, they're thinking that means someone who is radicalized into Islam in hating the United States and America by, tenets of Islamic faith and jihad and whatnot. That's what most people, I think of when they're thinking of the term radicalized. They're not thinking, radicalized, by self-hate. They're thinking radicalized religiously. And when they think of terrorism, they also think of, Muslims from the Middle East who really want to attack us because we've been bombing the hell out of their countries.
That could rattle out.
Or they hate our freedom, which is somebody, that's what a lot of Americans tend to think. It's more likely they hate our freedom.
It's more likely that someone is going to be radicalized by their family members being bombed to death than by some passage in a book.
Right, but there's this manipulative, sneaky weasel words in the news that's that are being heavily used during this story to program people. And,
absolutely,
and it's
they want to create an enemy. They want. The government and the news media as well want to have an enemy because for the news media's sake, it means people watching. It means people tuning in. It means people buying newspapers.
Right.
And so it's useful to have this conflict for those people. So they're likely to go along with whatever the official government story is.
The vague language in this is super extra on display with this story, I feel, anyway. I'm just seeing it all over the place, and it's just ramped up to 11. With double meaning words.
So apparently, Mateen went to a police academy. He did more, I guess, than just wear New York Police Department T-shirts. He really did want to be a cop. And a former classmate says he believed Mateen to be gay, but not open about it.
Wait, did you say New York? He was in Florida and he's wanted to be in New York?
I don't know if he was. I'm not clear which police academy he had attended. I have not read that particular detail.
Well, New York and Florida tend to share a lot of snowbirds, so
True.
I know that from personal experience.
I don't know. I don't want to speculate as to which police academy he went to. They don't mention it here. This is basically a summary story from antiwar.com, kind of questioning the official story based on some new information that's come out.
Probably not the one from the movie.
No, probably not. The series of movies. Weren't there 6
something like
Police Academy movies? Sadiq, let's see here. One of his classmates said he even asked him out romantically, meaning that Mateen asked his classmate out romantically. Sadiq Mateen, Omar's father and the self-proclaimed president of the Transitional Government of Afghanistan.
What?
Has claimed that Omar was extremely outspoken in his opposition to gay people and expressed disgust at seeing 2 men kissing recently in Miami. So that's the story you were talking about earlier. So yeah, you've got Dad saying one thing,
right?
And Dad claims to be the president of Afghanistan. And I don't know. Right. I don't think that's true. Maybe he's crazy.
I am the president of Afghanistan.
Or maybe he is. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's certainly not uncommon, is it, Johnson, for someone who's gay to hide that fact from their parents?
Sure.
Especially if their parents are super religious,
right,
as Dad may very well be.
And apparently maybe gay-hating and wishfully projecting onto his son.
That's possibly the case. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So the two stories...
So it seems a very weird... I mean, again, this is very strange because... just a weird way to I'm going to share this with the media. That'll get him on somebody's side. That doesn't, there's not.
You mean it's weird that his dad would express that he had shown disgust?
Right. Unless he was just telling the truth. This is what was going on. The motive.
He's likely telling the truth about what his son did, but his son was not likely being truthful with his dad if he was indeed, because if he's going to a gay bar and hitting on gay men, he's not disgusted by gayness.
I was going over to this gay bar. I just happened to go over and slaughter hundreds of people, whatever, attempt to slaughter hundreds of people, and recently told a story about hating gay people to my father,
to his dad,
according to his according to that, but he was lying?
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't he? He's trying. I guess I'm confused as to why you're so confused here. What am I missing, Johnson? You've got a clearly gay guy.
Well, okay. No, what I'm saying
is lying to his dad about being gay. He wants to impress his dad.
You're saying he's lying about this and wants to impress his dad. Did he also want to impress his dad by slaughtering hundreds of people?
Well, he's crazy.
Okay, but I'm saying is that his dad's story sounds like it makes more sense. His dad's story makes more literal sense.
How do you know he's not a gay guy who was rejected time and time again at this particular club and just wanted to slaughter these people because he's a psychopath?
That's possible, but what I'm saying is why the father's story rings true. That's all I'm saying.
Why doesn't it ring true to you that the people
Occam's
who went
razor.
to the club? But there were multiple people who went to this club saying they saw this guy over a 3-year time frame, seen him get wasted in the club and hang out there.
Okay, well, multiple people is a big thing, but that's the part we haven't verified.
Well, you also haven't verified the claims of the media. Here, you didn't talk to the dad. You didn't talk to Sadiq Mateen and get him to.
No, but that's a very that's a source that seems closer to You're talking about the guy's father versus random people who are making claims. That's a big difference, and is it multiple people or is it one person?
Well, you can probably drill down if you want to here, Johnson, and figure those things out. I haven't taken the time to do that, and you obviously haven't either.
A little bit, but yeah.
So the toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. So there's a lot here that's unverified. We just kind of have to go by what is being reported. The two stories don't exactly add up.
Also, here's another thing. I mean, it seems to me like, when someone is of that mindset where they're rebelling against their parents' beliefs, that they're going to do so and develop like a bond and a kinship more like with the people who they're rebelling to. And this doesn't have that.
doesn't necessarily look. You're talking about a crazy person. I think you're trying to put way too much logic onto this guy. I mean, and look, I don't know if he just snapped within the last 72 hours, or if he's been crazy for years, and that's why he's been completely That's why he's been completely unsuccessful. Ostensibly, I believe I've seen this written about his attempts at this bar. That's why he's been very poor at making connections with people in this world. He may be gay, but is also a psycho, and so therefore can't actually get the attention that he's looking for from the folks at this club, and has now lashed out at them.
Okay, let me be the person on the radio.
And maybe he's a self-hating gay guy too, because he's been programmed by a particular religion to believe against being gay, but yet he's gay because he was born that way, and he hates himself.
Let me on national radio be the first one to just bring in the hate and the phone calls maybe and say, well, I think it's awfully presumptive to assume that he's insane.
You have to be insane to shoot up.
Do you?
Yeah, you do.
So
That's a psychopathic
would you say
thing
all
to do.
United States Marines are insane?
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Was he taking orders, Johnson? It's Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Free Talk Live.
Ms. Maxwell's local council has decided that the pool, which is only 2 feet deep, needs a lifeguard. It's a kiddie pool. As if the lifeguard wasn't enough, she's also been told she must have insurance. The health and safety edict came after she wrote to the city council asking for permission to put a bigger pool in the communal garden outside her home. That was her mistake, asking for permission rather than forgiveness. But nonetheless, not only was she told it was too dangerous, but the council told her to empty the existing pool. The Portsmouth manager defended the ruling yesterday. Nigel Selly said, "We didn't have sufficient assurances that the risks associated with providing such a facility would be well managed. It's a facility. How dare you? How dare you erect this structure on your property?
It's an inflatable pool.
Without our permission."
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is $2 higher at $1,287 per ounce. Silver is even at $17.47 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $690 US. Robertson Roberts is your trusted name in precious metals for nearly 40 years, providing information on how you can diversify your investments. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Was the shooter in Orlando a psychopath, or was he just following orders? That's a question that you were alluding to.
Well, not necessarily following orders, but, you know...
Well, I said you have to be a psychopath to shoot and kill people like this guy did, and then you said, well, wait, what if he was a Marine? Would you then say the same thing?
Right, because what I'm saying is what if well, in the case of, these people from Middle Eastern countries who may have had some of their family killed, is that crazy? Now, in the case of Omar Satine...
I think it still is crazy to be willing to take innocent people's lives. Yes, I do believe that.
Right.
I guess you could argue that this person didn't think these people were innocent because of whatever crazy belief system he had. But then again, you have to be crazy to think that.
I would be willing to argue that most soldiers are kind of crazy. So, I would be willing to go there. So.
I think there's a level of depravity required to mass slaughter innocent people, yes.
Yeah. And but
even if it is deluding yourself into believing they are somehow guilty, like for instance, if an individual thinks,
I think that the average person is willing to accept that a certain level of killing is okay. They
may be willing to accept it, but that doesn't mean they're willing to do it.
Right.
There's a certain it's one thing for a person to look at a situation and say, oh, well, that's legitimate because blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's another thing to actually pull the trigger and to end another human life.
Right, but I think that the average person is willing to say, oh, that person's not crazy. They're a soldier. A soldier's not crazy. I think
that's probably true, yeah.
I think that the average person is willing to just accept that, you don't have to be crazy to be, oh, you're protecting the homeland. You're fighting for freedom. Okay, yeah, sure you are. And in the case of these, in the Middle East, which is not necessarily Omar Satine, but in the case of the Middle East, a lot of these people have had families killed. And if this guy's father is claiming to be, I'm the president of Afghanistan.
The president of the Transitional Government of Afghanistan.
Right. Obviously there are a lot of people that have been killed in Afghanistan, and if this guy's, claiming such strong ties there, who knows what's going on there. It does definitely sound, even though the father's saying it has nothing to do with the religion, that definitely does sound like it has something to do with the culture at the very least, and that there may be family involved and people who have died and been killed in that family. So that is enough of reason to be radicalized. If you had, cousins or relatives or whomever blown to pieces by the United States government, you might want to cause terror. That's
absolutely.
And I don't necessarily think that's. I think it's a very bad thing. I don't know if it necessarily makes someone insane.
We still don't have any real knowledge of for sure what it was that caused this guy to go into this club.
Right.
We can speculate that it was an ISIS mission. We can speculate that he was just mad at the gay guys in the club for not,
that just sounds like nonsense to me. I mean,
which part?
The I'm just mad at gay guys. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous to me.
It's not unbelievable.
It sounds like my family was destroyed by a United States bomb. Now I want to kill a bunch of people, and I happen to hate gays because I am Muslim and that's against my religion.
Is that true?
That sounds like more likely to believe.
Yeah,
to me.
but is there any evidence his family was destroyed by bombings?
I don't know.
So I haven't heard that yet. Have you?
I also don't even know whether or not it even necessarily needs to be family. What if it's just his father who's maybe his father is kind of slightly crazy and claiming that he's the president of the Transitional Government of Afghanistan, and so he's preaching about how blah 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 the United States government, death to America because they're killing our people.
Well, there's more. Let's get some more information from the story here. But first, your calls and thoughts. Our toll free number is 855-450-FREE. And perhaps you've missed the healthcare deadline and don't have any form of healthcare. Well, Liberty HealthShare has the answer. It's an affordable healthcare option that allows Americans to enroll any time of the year. And for those of you who've already enrolled but aren't satisfied with what you've chosen, there is still hope. Liberty Health Share allows Americans like you to control, manage, and direct your health care, yet still be in good standing with the Affordable Care Act. Members are exempt from the tax penalty and mandates imposed on individuals for not having health care insurance, which gives you freedom from insurance. Liberty Health Share empowers their members by giving them the ability to choose any doctor or hospital across the nation. Memberships are for individuals, couples, and families, and are offering a variety of options to best suit your medical needs. If you're a freedom-loving American looking for contract-free health care, then check out Liberty Health Share at 855-585-4237, 855-585-4237, or visit libertyhealthshare.org for more information on how to enroll any time of the year. That's libertyhealthshare.org and get your free estimate there. Let's go to the phones, to the fun. Dennis in Florida, you're on Free Talk Live, listening online.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Florida being a death penalty state, if they would have captured this guy alive, do you think he could have used the insanity defense to actually, save his life? Because he obviously needed treatment. But
that's a possibility.
I think they would just...
Seems unlikely.
But
he's pretty much crazy. I don't see that's unlikely. He could do that, but ultimately that would just mean he'd be stuck in a prison cell for the rest of his life.
And I hate to actually, bring up some hatred towards, the Boston bombings, but look at that guy, the younger brother. I can't remember his name. The way he was talking in the trial, that man is completely insane. He's just lost it. He actually thinks he was helping somebody. He thought he was helping his people by killing Americans. Like, he thought that was a good thing. That's a person that needs treatment, not death.
Well, do you think the United States soldiers need treatment when they're killing Iraqis and Afghanis because they think it's a good thing?
All right, well, that's different, though. That's done by order. Like, for instance, if you had your boss, Johnson, let's just say your boss is in a weird country, tells you, you have to go kill that ant right there. I want you to kill, person, not ant, kill that person. And you, in your own mind, say, that's not right, but I'm doing orders. I have to do orders for the greater good. It's kind of like...
No, I don't say that. I think that's idiotic.
Well, would you think it's idiotic if that person had a trigger, a bomb? Let's just say a bomb. They had a bomb, and they're going to blow it up in front of all these people, and you had to kill them. You don't want to kill people. No one does, really. I would say there's a few, but most of us don't want to kill. It's a natural thing in us to not kill somebody. But you had to kill them by order. At that point...
No one has to take orders to kill.
No one has to take orders at all. No one has to take orders, period, in general.
You always have the freedom to refuse an order.
Right.
You do, and for most people, that's why I would say if you don't want to, I would actually, I'm going to draw hate from this. I'd say don't join the Army and the Marines and the Navy because of that reason. You have to follow orders and do stuff that is not your own free will.
I agree with you. Don't join the military. I think it's a terrible idea to do that because you are subverting your will to the state. And ultimately, you can still change your mind. You can still refuse to follow orders. You just have to accept the consequence of that you might go to prison, military jail for that.
But on the gay-hating thing, there was when I went to high school in Booker, there was a lot of gay people at this particular school. And there was most of them, 99%, were 100% okay with their life choice, okay with their decision. It's become accepted nowadays. And generally nice people. Some of them you wouldn't even know they were gay unless they told you. But there was, a guy I knew back in the day that he was so religiously devout, but he was gay. And it caused him just turmoil day after day after day. Like, he would be down breaking in tears by himself. It caused him to be excluded from society because he was pressured religiously, but at the same time, he couldn't, not be gay. That'd be like me telling you to not be a man.
Yeah, that's how I feel about what has happened here. Based on the very limited information that we have, it sounds to me like somebody who was being torn in different directions. He was probably raised to hate gay people, and yet he was always gay himself because gay people are born that way. When you talk to them, that's what they'll tell you, is they were born that way. So now he's been taught that everything that he has wanted sexually is somehow wrong, and that likely probably drove him insane. to some extent. Dennis, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate the thoughts. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The folks over at antiwar.com, they've done some more digging. We'll share with you what they found out about this case here in moments. And, of course, you're welcome to jump on the line here and bring up whatever's on your mind. You can talk about this or anything you want to discuss. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. What is the real story here? Well, right now we're all just speculating. But at least we have a little bit more information, even though it is conflicting. This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE.
Get a pen and get ready for an important announcement. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, OIC Tax can help. Our retired IRS agents, tax attorneys, and CPAs are fighting for you. That's what we do here at OIC Tax. We help you survive after the IRS has come knocking. OIC Tax can help you with IRS hardship programs, offer in compromise, installment agreements, and the preparation of past and current tax returns. OIC Tax offers convenient representation for small businesses, corporations, W-2 wage earners, and even SBA loans in default. So stop waiting. Get a fresh start. Call OIC Tax at 1-800-314-4491 now. Bank levies, wage garnishments, and property seizures can be devastating to your life. OIC Tax has an A rating from the Better Business Bureau and is registered with the IRS as an e-file provider. Let OIC Tax help you. 1-800-314-4491. 1-800-314-4491. That's 1-800-314-4491.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
I'm Ian Freeman, host of Free Talk Live. We've been covering Uber for years on the radio with their ongoing legal cases across the globe defending your right to give people rides without asking government permission. I wanted to support Uber more directly, so I signed up to be a driver. It's fun to meet new people and help Uber push forward innovation. As of this recording, Uber is active in 67 countries, so there's a good chance they're available in your area. If you'd like to drive for Uber and make some money helping people get where they want to go, sign up at drive.freetalklive.com, and you'll get a $100 bonus after you complete a certain number of trips. With Uber, you can drive anytime you want. You set your schedule. To get started, you need a good driving record, 4-door vehicle, insurance, registration, and to pass a background check. It costs nothing to sign up, so visit drive.freetalklive.com. That's drive.freetalklive.com. And if you just want to try Uber as a rider, visit ride.freetalklive.com. Your first ride's free.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want right here toll-free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What is the truth in the Omar Mateen shooting case in Orlando, Florida? Is it the X-Files?
The truth is out there.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know if we'll ever be able to figure it out. But at the very least, we're getting more information now than we've had before. Does that mean that we're getting more misinformation? I don't know. But we're going to share some of it with you here, as according to antiwar.com. It's Ian and Johnson in the studio with you tonight. Also, you need to know where to go to get business cards online for a great price. 500 business cards starting at just $9.99. You get them at Vistaprint.com and use code FTL at checkout to get the special price. You can customize the text, colors, the backsides, and more. It's super easy to use their online card designing tool. I've done it. That's how I made the Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree full-color palm cards that I have. And, of course, if you need to do something besides business cards, postcards, flyers, banners, apparel, invitations, they've got all that, too. Plus thousands of industry-specific templates for your business card. You can upload your existing logo to one of their designs or upload an entire design, as well as upgrade your quality of the card. So maybe you want a thicker stock or a brilliant finish like metallic, spot gloss, or raised print. It is up to you. Get started at Vistaprint.com and get 500 business cards starting at just $9.99 with code FTL at checkout. As we continue with your calls and thoughts, more about the Orlando shooting in moments. First, Sarah is in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Yes, I've actually been told that the drug overdose deaths take more lives than auto fatalities. And you know what? It's hard for me. You know how I am. It's hard for me to believe or imagine that something else that will take more lives than auto fatalities, you know? Because I was convinced that I know the auto fatalities.
How many auto fatalities? Oh, wait, you're saying drug overdose? Are you talking about prescription drugs or illegal drugs?
I think it's a combination of everything, you know, because I think a lot of times they do prescription drugs and then they combine it with illegal drugs, and it ends in death.
So wait, did you say that drug fatalities are higher than auto fatalities?
Yeah, that is correct.
Where'd you get those statistics from?
Well, it was announced on many times on the radio, my local stations. So they talked about, they announced like the overdose death, drug overdose. And it talked about the New Mexico has a high drug overdose rate, like really, really high up there. And it all added up, it actually is more than auto fatalities.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking here at the motor vehicle deaths in the United States by year, and there are, as of 2014, there were 32,675 people died, apparently, in the United States, according to Wikipedia.
In 2015, it was about 38,300 people that died.
I believe that is fewer than
4.4 million injured. No, you were incorrect. It is not fewer. There were only about 25,000 deaths from overdoses in
Wait a minute, overdoses or improperly prescribed prescription medications? Because
overdoses, period. All overdoses, it was about 25,000 deaths.
Well, overdosing is different than taking a prescription medication and just dying from it. Like, you can take a medication. You can take a prescription medication, and it can just be wrong for you, basically. So you could have taken the proper dose. I thought I had read. Now I don't have it in front of me right now, but I thought I had read that there were more than 100,000 improperly prescribed prescription
but an overdose
deaths.
is substantively different from an improper medication. I mean,
were you only talking about overdosing, Sarah?
Well, you know, when they talk about overdose, it also means that these people, a lot of people have mental illness. They have they're on antidepressants.
Yeah, see, she's not talking about somebody who's like just prescribed the wrong sleeping pill or something like that, you know, and just dies. You know, that's not what she's talking about.
And then they do shoot up on top of it. You know what I'm talking about?
She's talking about scummy drug user people that are all evil and they're bad because they use drugs.
Okay, so you are talking about illegal drug users, Sarah, just to clarify. That is what you're talking about here?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, then yeah, you're totally wrong. Because I was going to give it to you. I was going to give it to her because Sarah has called in, night after night with incorrect statistics and misinformation. since we were talking about misinformation, it's appropriate that Sarah had called in here because anything that someone says is not necessarily true. And so, Sarah, just because you hear something on the radio doesn't necessarily make it true. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and believe that you just heard this
never give people
somewhere, that you just heard this somewhere, and you're just repeating it, and you're not fabricating it out of thin air.
Right.
Because
it was announced on the local radio station. So according to you guys, what I've been told is that the auto fatalities are more than all of the movie star. I mean, what is it? All the shootings, like movie theater shootings, church shootings, a shopping mall shooting, school.
Where are shootings coming from? We were talking about drug overdoses.
She's just all over the place. Well, we were talking about shootings.
The automotive deaths are more than the.
Yeah, there are definitely more people who die in automotive fatalities than
drug overdoses.
Shootings.
Oh,
I would say as well. I mean,
too,
come on,
all the
for sure.
violent deaths, you know what? You could throw in like the 50 people that died at the gay nightclub. You could throw that in, but that's not going to all add up. You could add up all the shootings, okay, like shopping mall shootings and everything. It does not add up.
Yeah, there aren't really that many of those.
No, exactly. It's probably like under 1,000. I mean,
I bet that's true.
It's like a tiny fraction of what people that die in car crashes.
And if you were to include shootings that involve more than 2 victims, it would probably be a very, very small number.
Right.
Thanks for the call, Sarah. Appreciate hearing from you. Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. So I was going to give it to her because if she was including deaths from drug use...
All those losers that use drugs. That's how she was talking. I mean, you heard that, right?
But if I thought she was talking about anyone who takes a drug, legal or illegal,
right,
and dies from that taking.
Right.
Not necessarily an overdose,
right,
just dosing on something,
right,
whether it's overdose or not. I believe there are. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I thought I had seen that it was more than 100,000 people will die in the United States over a year from improperly prescribed prescription medications. Now, please, I could be wrong about that. If you know the number or you know where to find that statistic,
somewhat right. But
please
that's
call in.
Not
toll
the
free.
Same as like an overdose
not
on a
at
recreational drug, or even an overdose on a prescription
in fact,
drug.
overdoses on recreational drugs are much fewer. There are
right,
far fewer, rather, of those than there are people dying from prescription medications.
You take a sinus medication and stop breathing,
right,
stuff like that.
So I wanted to give her something. I wanted to throw her a bone, but nope, we can't do that
exactly.
tonight.
I mean, you take a steroid or some sort of a something to maybe I don't know, like a statin or some sort of heart medication, and then your heart just stops. I mean, these things happen, unfortunately, ridiculously frequently.
So if you want to join us here, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. So we've got 2 stories about this shooter in Orlando. Omar Mateen, who shot up a nightclub over the weekend, early Sunday morning, and killed apparently approximately 50 people, with another 50-plus wounded in the shooting. The 2 stories don't add up. One of the stories is that he's a ISIS madman following orders to take out a bunch of gay people, and then the other story is that he's a gay guy and that he was an actual regular at the club. And as pointed out here at antiwar.com, the 2 stories don't exactly add up, but then again, a lot of things don't add up about the Mateen story, particularly the government narrative of him as an apparently random person who got radicalized by the internet, despite not having any apparent ties to any terror groups. Indeed, the conflicting reports about Mateen's signs of radicalization suggest he had no more than a tenuous grasp on who these Islamist factions he claimed loyalty to actually were, and had at different times claimed to be affiliated with wildly different groups. So it's possible this guy is just a nutcase, and then later on, ISIS, after the fact, claimed responsibility for this. So maybe they didn't send him on this mission. The reports of Mateen claiming allegiance to ISIS amid the attacks are well known, but he also mentioned ties to the Boston bombers, the Tsarnaev brothers, who were said to have been inspired by an al-Qaeda magazine, as well as a U.S. suicide bomber, Munir Mohammed Abu Salah, who was a bomber for al-Qaeda's Nusra Front, which is actually fighting against ISIS in Syria. The FBI says they concluded Mateen's claims of ties to the Tsarnaevs was made up by him, and believed that he had no more than tenuous ties to Abu Salah, Mateen appeared keen to present himself as much better connected than he ever was. There's more, though, about this confusing story about the gunman in Orlando. And some, of course, the conspiracy people are saying there's more than one. There was more than one shooter. So there are a lot of claims out there. What's the truth? You can share your thoughts with us here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live. Hour 2 is coming up.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Adam Kokesh has agreed to meet Bernie Sanders in any city in America on any day between now and the end of the year for a friendly debate on socialism versus voluntarism, in which Bernie can choose an objective moderator. To sweeten the deal, Roger Ver, a.k.a. Bitcoin Jesus, has offered that upon completion of a 3-hour debate in which both men have equal time, he will donate a total of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to the charity of each man's choice, $50,000 apiece. Learn more at bernie.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.38 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,284 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $689. Antiwar.com reports a big unresolved issue for Afghanistan is the Durand Line question. Initially negotiated between Afghanistan and Britain as a line of control, it represents a de facto border that neither side fully accepts, with some Afghan officials arguing the real border extends deep into Pakistan, enveloping the tribal areas and more. Fighting erupts in that area sometimes, with the respective nations' border guards guarding very different borders, and on Sunday night into Monday morning, heavy gunfire was traded, ending with Pakistan closing its main border crossing, 1 Afghan guard killed, and a total of 22 wounded on both sides. This latest fighting was sparked by Pakistan installing more of its border fence, which by Pakistani reckoning is some 30 meters into Pakistani territory, and by Afghanistan reckoning is right in the middle of Afghanistan. Arguments ensued and eventually gunfire. Pakistan's foreign ministry lodged a strong protest to the Afghan government after the incident, saying they expected Afghan officials to fully investigate what happened and to cooperate with mutual security along the border. For nearly 40 years, Robertson Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a Baltimore police officer on trial for the controversial death of Freddie Gray heard testimony Monday from a fellow officer who also faces charges stemming from the incident. Caesar Goodson was the officer who drove the police van immediately following Gray's arrest in April 2015 and who faces a second-degree murder charge in his death. Also charged with manslaughter and other related counts, Goodson went to trial last week. On Monday, Officer William Porter was called to the witness stand by prosecutors to recount the events of the incident. Last year, Porter's prosecution was interrupted by a mistrial, and officials say he will be retried later this year. On the stand Monday, Porter testified that Gray did not show obvious signs of trouble after his arrest and placement inside the van for transport. Gray sustained a severe spinal cord injury during the trip to the police station, which led to his death a week later. Prosecutors have argued that the officers did not buckle Gray in the van with a seatbelt, which was standard police protocol. 6 Baltimore officers have been charged in the incident. Porter and another, Edward Nero, who was acquitted last month, have already gone through legal proceedings. The other 3 will stand trial between July and October. All have pled not guilty. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. Reuters reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday refused to revive a Puerto Rico debt restructuring law, putting the U.S. territory at risk of a messy default unless Congress this month passes legislation to help the Caribbean island survive its crippling fiscal crisis. The justices ruled 5-2 that Puerto Rico's 2014 statute, which would have let it cut billions of dollars in debt at public utilities over creditors' objections, conflicted with federal bankruptcy law. The justices left in place a 2015 appeals court ruling invalidating the law called the Recovery Act. Passage of legislation now advancing in the U.S. Congress is likely the only remaining option to restructure Puerto Rico's debt in a bid to avoid a default in the U.S. territory of about 3.5 million people that is burdened by a $70 billion debt load it has said it cannot pay. The U.S. House of Representatives last Thursday overwhelmingly passed legislation creating a federal control board to help Puerto Rico cope with its debt and sent the bill to the U.S. Senate for consideration. Puerto Rico does not have Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the Supreme Court, said Puerto Rico is not considered a U.S. state in one part of bankruptcy law, meaning it cannot authorize its municipal agencies to restructure debt. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg dissented. This has been FPP Radio News.
Already struggling to get by on the basic necessities of day-to-day life, lunatics across the nation confirmed today that they are now barely able to afford the quickly rising price of car meat.
I've got 14 Barbara Streisands to feed and 3 more on the way. Day and night they shout, "We're hungry, Admiral. We want grade A Honda loaf. We want Nissan truck."
I just want to know what Bruno Mars plans to do about this. He sits around all day eating Audi ribeye and limousine bouillabaisse while we scrape by with taxi shanks. Meanwhile, the men-at-arms are still overseas fighting the war on Wheel of Fortune.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free to join us here. The number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. You can Skype into the show. Skype username is LRN.FM. Joining you in studio tonight, Ian here.
And Johnson.
We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts. More on the shooter in Orlando, Omar Mateen. More information is coming to light, but what is the truth about him? Is it that he's actually a gay guy who was attending the club that he shot up for years? Maybe being rejected by some of the patrons in the club? Or was he a gay-hating ISIS member? Well, it's starting to look like that maybe the whole official story has some holes in it. And so you can join 855-450 free. Maybe he pretended to hate gay people because his father expected that of him, given that his father believed he hated gay people.
Right.
Maybe that was sort of one of those things that he was in a gay-hating family and he was born gay, and so he tried to keep that bottled up, keep it inside, never came out to his parents. And that ultimately, that plus the frustration of being rejected at this club maybe led him down a path of insanity. Johnson, you were even watching a video of the man's household.
And he had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff around. Clearly insane if you like those new movies.
Oh, he had the stuff from the new movies?
No, I didn't really see.
I haven't seen them. Have you?
I've only seen one of them, and it's one of the few movies I've turned off.
Wow.
Yeah,
that bad?
Yeah, it was really bad.
You mean the one, the Michael Bay one? The new one?
Well, there's two new Michael Bay ones, but yeah.
All right, so let's continue. We'll go to your calls and thoughts. Rico is on the line in Nevada. You're on Free Talk Live, listening to K-Talks. Rico. We got Rico in Nevada? Rico going once? Maybe I don't have the right name here. Someone calling from Nevada.
Yeah, someone is on the line. You could just talk.
Yep, I do.
Everyone, if you're on right now, just say something.
Maybe he butt dialed. I don't know. Hello?
Oh, no, he's trying to speak. There's something wrong with your phone.
That's it. Oh, yep, and he's gone.
Okay.
Well, you know what? If there's technical difficulties, you're always welcome to call us back here. So do give us another try. Maybe he went into a bad cell. Let's go, in the meantime, to Skype, where we've got Socrates on the line in Nashua. Socrates, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Johnson.
Hey, guys, I have a couple clarifications and observations.
Sure.
Now, I do think that perhaps neither of you are correct, if this is true. Now, the intelligence reports that I've heard through the grapevine is that A, this guy was questioned by the FBI in the past, and B, he visited Saudi Arabia. Now, can both of you guys say that you've heard the same thing?
I've heard that he was talked to, or rather investigated by the FBI at least twice in the past. I had not heard about Saudi Arabia, but that doesn't mean that he didn't. I have not been digging through every report about this.
Ian and I are in the same boat on that one.
Okay. Well, then I would like to point to the 1992 World Trade Center bombing. I mean, if this kind of does seem reminiscent of what kind of came out after the fact in 1992, for people that don't know, right? There was apparently a lone, crazy, homegrown terrorist, right, that went and tried to bomb the basement of the World Trade Center to blow it up. Now, the interesting thing about this situation, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, is that the FBI actually coaxed him into doing it. And I mean coaxed by giving him bomb-making materials, telling him where to go, giving him a truck to drive into, and then stopping him so they could try to stop him at the last second. Now, if you're getting questioned twice by the FBI and then you go on to shoot 50 people, the odds of this happening, to say like, oh yeah, the intelligence reports said something different. So I don't know if he was an asset, but if he went to Saudi Arabia, there's that kind of to me says that's a red flag.
Wait, when you say asset, you mean for the federal government?
Yeah, an asset in the same way that the Boston bombing brothers, the Zarnov twins, right, were told by the Russian government to the U.S. officials ahead of time. They're saying, hey, do you know those guys are agents for whatever homegrown terrorist group they are? And the U.S. is like, what? Shut up, right? And this kind of ignored it. The idea that they didn't know who they were is always a joke. It seems to me in this specific situation, if they went to Saudi Arabia, just like these Zarnov brothers went to where was it, Chechnya, then I do see a parallel that's just, to me, tells me that neither of these official stories are true. He seems to be like a kid that was likely got in the wrong situation, got driven into this ISIS scenario, and we have no idea if he was drugged. If he was drugged, or if he was just purely pushed to the point of insanity. But either way, it seems like the FBI and the government knew who it was, and they let him do it.
Well, whether they let him do it or not is another question. Obviously, you don't know someone's going to commit an act like this until they actually commit it. And as far as him being a member of ISIS, the antiwar.com report that we're sharing here says that some of these reports suggest he had no more than a tenuous grasp on the very Islamist fashions that he claimed loyalty to, and had at different times claimed to be affiliated with wildly different groups. And this would have been in the discussions he had, I think, with the FBI. The reports of him claiming allegiance to ISIS are well known, but ultimately the FBI says they concluded that his claim of ties to the Sarneos was made up by him, and they believe that he had no more than tenuous ties
Certainly is an interesting fact to make up if, his motivations were that he was just a gay guy who was self-loathing.
So are you saying you think, Socrates, that this guy was working for the state?
What it points to is that the state knew who he was, and they do the patterns go back further. If you go back to the Batman shooter, right? They knew who that guy was as well.
Who's the Batman shooter?
Like in all these
the redheaded
guy. The Batman shooter.
The movie theater guy?
Aurora, Colorado.
The movie theater guy.
In Aurora, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was obviously no one actually saw him do the shooting. However, he was found outside of the theater sleeping next to an assault rifle. Just the scenarios that occur when they say, oh yeah, that Batman shooter, by the way, yeah, he happened to be in a DARPA program as well. So he was also known as an asset for some sort of federal agency. Not saying that these things are remotely connected, but what are the odds that these random shooters all have been known by the federal government before they go out and do it? It's just strange.
That is strange. I'll give you that much. Socrates, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Making matters even more confusing, according to antiwar.com, the 2013 interviews the FBI conducted with Mateen were prompted by him claiming to be a member of Hezbollah, which is a totally ideologically opposed faction to either ISIS or Al-Qaeda.
Can I read something real quick? Just an interjection, because I find this also interesting. Just this dovetails well off of some of what Socrates was saying. The math doesn't add up. So this was something that was making around on some small circles on Facebook, because I know a lot of people who are very pro gun rights, and they make this interesting point. A man walks into a nightclub with an AR-15, shoots 103 people in under 7 minutes at 2 a.m. The majority of the victims were shot multiple times, some as many as 12 times.
Whoa.
With reports of several dozen rounds fired in the air and several dozen rounds missing. 3 hours later, engages in a gun battle with 9 police officers that lasts nearly an hour. So let me get this straight. One lone shooter in under 7 minutes reloaded his AR-15 30 times with 30 RD magazines in under 7 minutes, firing nearly 1,000 rounds of .223 ammunition while in a nightclub surrounded by 320 people, managing to kill and injure 1/3 of them. Takes a 3-hour break, then engages in another gun battle lasting nearly an hour in what was described as a hail of bullets with a SWAT team. Having years and years of experience with AR-15s, it would take me nearly 7 minutes to reload 30 times, let alone having to aim and shoot 1,000 rounds in semi-automatic between firing dozens of rounds in the air, screaming Aloha snack bar. Just saying, something doesn't add up.
It would take him 7 minutes to reload 30 times? I mean, if you've got the ammo already loaded up...
Remember, you also have to fire all those rounds.
True. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. It doesn't take... Well, it's interesting.
Fellas, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all. Oh, no. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration. Plus, a free extra gift so sensual, we can't mention it on the radio. And to top it all off, we'll even throw in free shipping on your entire order. And no, we're not teasing. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type BABE33 for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use offer code BABE33. at adamandeve.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees, ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype username, LRN.FM, and according to the Orlando Sentinel, Johnson, since you'd asked before, and I wasn't entirely sure, at least 4 regular customers at the Orlando gay nightclub said they'd seen Omar Mateen there before. Quote, he'd sometimes go over into the corner and sit and drink by himself. Other times he would get so drunk that he was loud and belligerent, said one of the witnesses, Ty Smith. As more details are emerging about this guy. Plus, in another story about his father does say that he did not believe that in the ties to ISIS.
Right.
And the evidence is suggesting here that whatever it was this guy told the FBI showed that he really didn't know what he was talking about. We're talking about Omar Mateen, the shooter the alleged shooter from Sunday morning in Orlando. In his interviews with the FBI in 2013, he claimed to be a member of Hezbollah, which, according to antiwar.com, is a totally ideologically opposed faction to ISIS. Right. So apparently he's it's an opposed faction to ISIS or Al-Qaeda, and indeed a Shiite Muslim group as opposed to the other two, which are both Sunni. That's not in keeping with any of the other ISIS-inspired types who have been publicized in recent years, who at the very least appeared to be somewhat clear on what ISIS is, and certainly understood the difference between Sunni and Shia Islam. The reports from people who knew him, whether co-workers, his ex-wife, or fellow clubgoers, all tell some pretty similar stories, presenting Mateen as a man extremely prone to anger and quick to threaten violence at the slightest provocation. There was a story about, I think, a former girlfriend of his claiming that he was abusive.
He was planning on being a cop.
Yeah, not a surprise. A lot of cops are very, they're like prone towards abuse as well. So you can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. During his time guarding the PGA Village, because he was a security guard by trade.
The Pro Golf Association?
Presumably.
Oh, interesting.
Co-worker Daniel Gilroy said he, quote, talked about killing people all the time, unquote, and was in a state of, quote, just constant anger. His ex-wife presented him as quick to violence and extremely abusive. Even the Pulse patrons who remembered him said he would drink to excess, and in fact, even at one time pulled a knife on someone for telling a joke about religion. He had to be removed from the club several times. The truth about Mateen is likely far more complicated than anyone realized. His claim of ISIS ties are likely to be self-invented, just as his claim to know the Tsarnaev brothers, or his claim that he was a member of Hezbollah, or the real question, and at least the one we may never know for sure, is who exactly was Omar Mateen. That's Jason Ditz writing over at antiwar.com. So was he a member of ISIS? Sounding less and less likely. Did ISIS claim responsibility for the attack? Yeah, apparently an ISIS-connected account did make those claims, but ultimately, anybody could claim after the fact that they had something to do with something. Any terror group could have claimed responsibility for this.
So, I had brought this up, and I want to just talk a little bit more about these little crazy facts about this. Again, this thing, it was a little post that was making around the internet just talking about the logistics of supposedly what happened with this guy and his firearm. So,
the numbers. Running the numbers on how many alleged shots versus how many clips he would have to have for it.
So this goes on to say, again,
or magazines.
They talk about this, what happened, around these, the 103 people and whatnot at 2 a.m. He says, so let me get this straight. So look, one lone shooter in under 7 minutes reloaded his AR-15 30 times with 30-round magazines in under 7 minutes, firing nearly 1,000 rounds of .223 ammunition while in a nightclub surrounded by 320 people, managing to kill and injure one-third of them. Then he takes a 3-hour break, then engages in another gun battle lasting nearly an hour in what was described as a hail of bullets with a SWAT team. Having years and years of experience with AR-15s, it would take me nearly 7 minutes to reload 30 times, let alone having time to aim and shoot 1,000 rounds in semi-automatic, in between firing dozens of rounds in the air screaming, "Aloha snack bar," just saying. Now, something doesn't add up. Let's not even mention the fact that he managed to have 30-round AR mags loaded and at the ready in order to do it in under 7 minutes. If he is holding an ammo can in one hand that weighs 40 pounds and an AR in the other, what was he doing? Reloading and firing with one hand at the same time? Either that or he had a tactical vest from hell that he was able to load 30 mags into. Something ain't right, folks.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a lot of magazines to be toting around on one's body. It would be relatively difficult.
I mean, but that was supposedly the same case with the guy, with the Batman shooter guy. Is just ridiculously armed. It just, what?
Now, I guess I haven't seen the timeline on this before. Obviously, we're going based on what this person wrote on the internet.
Sure.
I would be interested in knowing exactly when these things did happen, because I did read that he had gone in and started opening fire in the club at around 2 in the morning.
Right.
So is this guy claiming that it wasn't until 3 hours later when the final shootout actually happened with the police?
So, yeah.
Interesting. If you know more about the timeline here, would love to know more. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. But either way, regardless of whether or not he traded a bunch of shots,
that actually makes sense, though, if he was in the club holed up,
Yeah, I suppose so.
So it would take him
if he had hostages. He did have hostages.
And all that stuff, yeah.
True. So toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. You can share your thoughts with us on Omar Mateen. Who was this guy really?
That was another conspiracy theory that I saw earlier today. Was somebody was posting about, like, they had done a Google Maps thing where they showed, the satellite where there was some sort of a hospital or some sort of X-ray center, and then a Dunkin' Donuts, and then the club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they figured out, these people are running, they're carrying someone who's injured towards the club. Oh, the conspiracy. Why would they be carrying someone towards that? And I'm like, I just said, guys, really simple. They ran away from the club when the shooting was happening.
Mm-hmm.
The police showed up to the club, and the people who were injured ran too far away and needed to go back to where the police were staging for medical support.
Sure.
But the conspiracies around this are just
ridiculous.
Yeah, flying around.
As they usually are. And it would be fun to hear the conspiracy theories, so maybe we should check on Alex Jones's site and see exactly what.
Hello, friends.
See what the most popular
Obviously,
one is.
this is the fault of Michelle Obama, who was at the club because she was a man.
So that's the latest. I don't know. Maybe there's more come out that I haven't heard about yet, but I think the most interesting detail is that this guy was a regular at the club. I think that's the most surprising detail about all this, because it's the one thing that really shoots holes, if you will.
Clearly, he was dejected because he was rejected by Michelle Obama.
He was likely rejected by somebody
because
apparently.
She was busy with Barack.
Apparently, he was a pretty angry guy.
Conspiracy, friends.
Apparently, he was a pretty angry guy, and that's likely not going to be very attractive to the nice gay gentleman who might have attended that club.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you can join us here and bring up whatever's on your mind. Coming up, Facebook threatening to delete your photos if you don't install their photo app.
What?
Yeah, Facebook's getting pretty ridiculous in their attempts to get people to install their apps.
Wow.
And we'll share that with you also on the way here. Johnson, you've got a story about a doomsday prepper who apparently gunned down his neighbors and the nightmare of inheritance.
Yeah.
All right, I want to hear about that for sure on the way. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Maybe we should cut out the shooting stories. We've had enough of that here tonight. This is Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 641-552-5046. That's 641-552-5046.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us on the radio waves here. The toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username, it's LRN.FM. You're certainly welcome to comment on the shooter, Omar Mateen, in the nightclub story from the weekend with approximately 50 people dead in what is a horrifying mass shooting. There's some big questions as to who this guy really was. What did he really believe? Was he actually a member of ISIS? It's starting to look less and less likely and look more like that he was just an angry gay man.
Right.
An angry cop wannabe gay man who may have hated himself because he was taught that way by his parents. It doesn't sound like his dad was against his anti-gay sentiment, or his dad might have helped foment the idea that being gay was bad. So perhaps he was just a self-hating gay guy who decided to take out his anger on the club patrons that had rebuffed his advances over the last few years. Because it turns out, according to multiple club patrons, at least 4 of them, they had seen this guy at the club on a regular basis for 3 years.
Right.
So interesting details there. You can share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE. You know, you've got a lot of choices when it comes to cryptocurrency wallets, but there's only one that can hold Bitcoin, Ether, and DAO tokens. It's Jaxx, Jaxx. You can get it right now for free at jaxx.io or via your favorite app store. Data on the app is stored client-side, so Jaxx never has access to your funds. That is the company that makes Jaxx, which is a company called Decentral. You can use it cross-platform, meaning that if you've got Windows, Mac, Linux, Google Android, or iOS, Jaxx will work for you. There's even browser plugins for Chrome and for Firefox. So super useful, and you can have it everywhere that you are looking on the internet. You can use it cross-platform, and the sleek design means smooth functionality on your phone or computer. It's super easy to use and easy to back up. So if you lose your phone, no big deal. And you can recover your funds if need be. Plus, Jaxx's ultimate aim is to build you a digital command center for your life, giving you control over coins, currencies, contracts, identity, and more in the palm of your hand. Jaxx.io, Jaxx.io. I've got it on my phone. It is super slick. I really like Jaxx. In fact, we're endorsing it here on Free Talk Live. So let's go and change gears here. We've talked a lot about Omar Mateen and the media and, you know, what's the real story. Of course, the conspiracy theories are already brewing out there about all of this, so you can still comment on any of that. But let's talk briefly about social media, and then we'll talk about the inheritance nightmare story, Johnson, that you wanted to share. Somebody came into a bunch of money, and it didn't really work out as well as they had hoped that it would. First up, though, Facebook now threatening to delete synced photos if you don't download their new photo app. We talked recently on this show about how Facebook was trying to coerce isn't the right word,
right?
But heavily push in a very inconvenient and annoying manner their messaging app. So I found this about a week or so ago when I started.
What is a synced photo?
I'll explain that here in a moment. Let me give you a little bit of background, though, on what Facebook has been doing recently to try to strongly encourage their users to install their various
You're probably
apps.
going to talk about the chat thing, which is totally different, but yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, it's not that different. It's still Facebook saying, hey, do this or else we're taking away functionality from you. So this is what they're doing here, is they're saying to people on the mobile, if you've got a mobile phone and you go to Facebook.com, you're on their mobile site. If you're on their mobile site and you click on the little message icon that shows you might have a message waiting for you, it then tells you need to install Messenger. First, it told you you'll need to use Messenger soon to get your messages. Install it now. And then it would start jumping to the install window over on the App Store for the Messenger. So it would leave your browser and jump right into the install window. And then there was, you had to jump through a few hoops to actually get to your messages. Well, now they've disabled that entirely, as they promised that they would. And now, if you click on the message icon, it tries to load the installer for the Messenger program, their own separate program just for messaging. It tries to load that up, and you cannot get access to messages through their mobile site anymore. They've completely deactivated that functionality of their website.
Right.
So they're trying to cram as many people into their messaging app as they possibly can, and I won't do it. So anybody that sends me messages on Facebook now, you're just going to have to wait. If I'm
there's
out,
a ton of people that won't do it.
Right.
I installed the app immediately.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, screw that. I uninstalled their apps a couple years ago, and
If I have the Facebook app, why wouldn't I be okay with the Messenger app?
Yeah, I got a problem with both of them.
Yeah.
I don't have either one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
No. What I was telling you is that if you're on the mobile, on the browser,
right.
If you're on their website in the browser, I don't know anything about the Facebook app because I uninstalled that junk 2 years ago, and I've never been happier since getting rid of it. The Facebook apps are humongous.
Yeah, that's true.
The one Facebook app that I had was like 50 megs, and then it just keeps getting larger once you install it for whatever reason.
Do you know that one of the Facebook developers, like of not the current team but the past team, was a Free Talk Live listener?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a big fan.
I mean, they've got a big team. I'm sure there's a lot of people that work.
No,
at Facebook.
he was like the lead dude.
Oh, wow.
At one time, yeah. He's
he's no longer
huge.
there.
Yeah, and he's actually made some splashes on Twitter for some of the things that he's said that are kind of inflammatory about software
Facebook?
development. Not about Facebook, but just about certain things happening in the software development world. I don't even know if I don't think he's that team was changed. He's not with Facebook anymore, but he's kind of a known dude.
So you're one of the people who will just go ahead and install a Facebook app, and that's fine. That's your business. But as a user of their website, I resent being told, oh, we're going to cripple this website now. We're going to cripple your online experience unless you download our app. And so that's what one of their recent things they've done. And now, even more recently, story coming from TheVerge.com, they are now deciding the way to convince people to download their new Moments app for photos is by threatening to delete thousands of photos if they don't. The notice has to do with a photo syncing feature that was recently removed from Facebook's main mobile app. Starting in 2012, the core Facebook app, the one you've got, Johnson, was able to automatically upload photos from a phone's local camera.
I never turned that on.
Sure, because you care about privacy to some extent.
Yeah.
Although you've installed their app, so probably not that much. This feature that you didn't use, a lot of people did. They said, "Oh yeah, great! I'd love to sync my phone photos with Facebook," and so automatically, photos are being synced to a folder on Facebook. They were kept there for storage, but also to make it easier to later share them publicly via Facebook. That syncing tool has now been moved out of the core Facebook app and into their new photo app, or I don't know how new it is, but their photo app called Moments. Facebook made it clear this would happen, and in fact, it happened months back, seemingly without much pushback. What Facebook was less clear about was what would happen to the photos that had previously been synced. So any photos you had synced with the original, the full-on Facebook app, they're now under threat. At the time, Facebook mentioned that people would be given the chance to download their pictures in a zip file if they didn't want to move over to Moments. Now it's clear that that offering is because Facebook intends to completely delete the synced photos if people don't download this new app. Now, this only applies to auto-synced photos, not photos that you've personally chosen to upload. So if you've selected pictures that you want uploaded to Facebook individually, those won't be deleted. But anything.
So it's no big deal. So you just
it's
resync.
a big deal for some people.
No, not really, because the photos are the photos that they didn't select to go live.
One lady on Twitter said, "Dang, I didn't even know Facebook privately synced 12,000 of my photos, and now they're trying to delete them."
Right, because you didn't even know that they were there, and so they don't want people wasting a bunch of space on their server, dummy. You didn't select to have those photos live, so yeah, of course they should delete them.
Yeah, but don't you have
that
to
makes
choose?
Sense.
Don't you have to choose to auto sync those photos?
Probably she selected it without even. She just
Probably.
yes.
You made the decision not to.
And most people probably just said yes, sure, why not? And they're syncing all the photos on their phone. They don't even know that they're there, and they're not selecting to make them live, so they're up on Facebook's server, completely private. Of course Facebook wants to delete those. And of course you shouldn't even care because you don't even know that they're there. And you know what? If you want them to be there, install the Photos app.
Another damn app from Facebook.
And just resync the photos. Who cares? You're not using them.
The idea is if you install their new app, then you probably wouldn't have to resync the photos. If you install their app, it'll likely go ahead and import all those photos into it without you having to do anything.
Without you having to do anything
but
or
I
resync them
resent
at all.
having to continue. If I were to be a Facebook user and I'm only marginally
There's
one at this
nothing
point,
to resent.
I
You're not
resent
doing
them
anything with
continuing
those
to
photos.
introduce new apps and demanding that people install them.
Get
It's
used to it.
ridiculous.
More...
No, I'm not going to use them. I don't have to get used to it.
Okay, well, get
it's
used
Free
to it
Talk
because
Live.
They're not going to be the only ones.
Get a pen and get ready for an important announcement. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, OIC Tax can help. Our retired IRS agents, tax attorneys, and CPAs are fighting for you. That's what we do here at OIC Tax. We help you survive after the IRS has come knocking. OIC Tax can help you with IRS hardship programs, offer in compromise, installment agreements, and the preparation of past and current tax returns. OIC Tax offers convenient representation for small businesses, corporations, W-2 wage earners, and even SBA loans in default. So stop waiting. Get a fresh start. Call OIC Tax at 1-800-314-4491 now. Bank levies, wage garnishments, and property seizures can be devastating to your life. OIC Tax has an A rating from the Better Business Bureau and is registered with the IRS as an e-file provider. Let OIC Tax help you. 1-800-314-4491. 1-800-314-4491. That's 1-800-314-4491.
Soil quality determines plant health. Plant health determines animal and human health. 80% of the mineral needs of a plant are calcium-based, with the other 20% representing all the other minerals. The body needs minerals to occur in the same order of priority and ratios as plants in order to cause electrochemical reactions to occur optimally. One of the most important foods to give the body the calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium needed for proper body chemistry is whey protein. Now, add to this the new and improved technological enhancements unique to One World Whey, and you have a recipe to turn on the body's chemistry to making energy again. One World Whey's new formula appears to support your body's ability to function in a more youthful manner. People report feeling major improvements in energy and well-being within 20 minutes of taking our new and improved One World Whey. These effects last for 4 or more hours. Call 888-988-3325 or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworld.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. With you in studio, it's Ian here.
And Johnson.
That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, so Skype into the show. Skype username LRN.FM. Let's talk to Bernard in Kansas City, listening online. Hey, Bernard, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello. I need to say, how you know that this shooting wasn't because the president, he doesn't want to take over everything, make martial law?
Well, this guy would have been happy to have been part of the martial law. He wanted to be a cop. The shooter, you're talking about the shooter in Orlando. He was a wannabe cop. He tried to be a cop. He ended up being a security guard. He was wearing NYPD T-shirts in multiple social media photos. I mean, this guy would have loved to have been the martial law.
It seems very, very convenient that all this fits so well.
That all of it fits so well?
It seems staged.
It seems what?
Staged.
Oh, staged. Okay, gotcha. So you believe this was some sort of government setup?
Absolutely.
Well, it is interesting what Johnson read earlier with the gun guy saying this is impossible, near to impossible, what the guy did.
I just wonder what if the reports are just completely inaccurate. You know?
There's always that possibility, too. Like, how much did this guy shoot? Did he have an accomplice? Because if there was an accomplice, then that would have made more sense as far as the rate of fire, the amount of rounds that were fired. But I suspect that the club in question, Pulse in Orlando, if they're worth half their salt as a club and they've been around as long as they've supposedly been around, they probably have a security system, some sort of security camera system set up in there. So whether or not there was a second gunman will likely be able to be determined relatively quickly by whatever people are conducting the investigation. Of course, if you believe it's all a government conspiracy, then you'll probably never see the video will probably never see the light of day. Bernard, any other thoughts you want to share?
No, that's it.
Thanks for the call. Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. Is that a real accent?
I do not know.
It seemed pretty fake, kind of fakeish.
But his name was Bernard, so
It was.
maybe very possibly he could have been, some kind of Eastern European.
So you're going to bat for Facebook here, Johnson.
Sure. And I'm also going to go to bat and say that I don't think that this attack, was staged.
Okay, you think it was
that's
the
kind
real
of disgusting.
Deal. My best guess is this guy was a crazy nut job who was taught to hate gay people growing up, ultimately was gay his entire life, taught to hate himself, basically. And because he hated himself, he was never able to really connect with any of the people at this club, thereby being rejected time and time again over the years, becoming even more angry, even more bitter. And so in the same way that the Columbine kids lashed out at the Columbine jocks for making fun of them and teasing them, this guy lashed out at the people that had rebuffed his sexual advances.
There's a new Columbine movie coming out.
No.
Soon, yeah. It's about...
Like a Hollywood movie?
It follows the story of the girl who they asked if she believed in God.
Oh.
And then
is this
her.
A Hollywood movie, or is it like a documentary
It's
or
a
something?
Hollywood movie.
Interesting.
Where they asked this girl, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold asked this girl whether or not she believed in God, and then said, "Where's your God now?" and killed her.
Man, that's amazing that that would happen 20 years later after this thing. So Facebook is saying you better download their new app. Another one. This is what, app number 4? I'm losing track of how many damn Facebook.
This is going to be the standard now, man.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Where else?
it is.
Who else is doing this with a zillion damn apps?
Let's look it up. I don't know. Google?
Okay, yeah, I get where you're coming from there. But Google can get away with it. They run the operating system. It comes with the Google apps for the most part.
No, I've got a bazillion Google apps. Let me see. If I search for Google on my phone right now, I've got Google Voice, Google Admin, Google Search, Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Calendar. I've got Google Sheets. I've got Google Docs. I've got Google.
All right, fine. You make a good point there. But Google's apps are useful and productive. Facebook's apps are social networking.
That's subjective, sir.
Facebook apps are for social networking.
That's why I immediately installed their chat app, and why I installed their app because it's more productive than using the damn browser. It's a pain to use the browser.
No, Facebook isn't productive at all. You shouldn't have chatting on Facebook anyway because it's being monitored by the feds. I mean, they can easily get in there and with a just
except for the fact
request.
that they turned on encryption for all the WhatsApp now.
Oh
right?
yeah,
You
trust Facebook's encryption?
I don't know.
Sure.
Do you trust Telegram's encryption? Do you trust all the other? Do you trust encryption of any of these cloud-based
I trust
apps?
Telegram more than I do Facebook. Yeah, because Telegram was actually apparently created by an anarchist in Russia to keep conversations away from the Russian government.
That's what they tell you.
That is what they are saying.
That's what they are saying to you.
And I believe them. But no, I don't believe that it's that it's a completely secure system. I think probably the best security is PGP. So if you want to send something with as much security as possible, you should PGP it. If you want to have a conversation that's not easily monitored by the federal government or local police, take it off of Facebook, put it on Signal or Telegram. Signal's apparently better with encryption than Telegram is.
Right.
But nonetheless, I'm sure you've seen the news stories where some alleged terror cell was alleged to have been using Telegram, and so the military, or not the military, the U.S. government is certainly acting like Telegram is a bad app, because they can't do anything with monitoring that. But no, I'm not interested in Facebook's Messenger at all. And so I'm actually ultimately I'm grateful for this because it means I will be using Facebook less than ever before. So if someone wants to send me a message on Facebook, I'll get it eventually once I've logged into the site on a full desktop or laptop computer and can check my messages. But it is no longer a way to reach me in any kind of short amount of time on a mobile device. I guess I just resent having to continue, if I were to want to be a Facebook user, to continue to install. First, it was the Facebook app. Then it was Facebook and Messenger. Then it was Facebook Messenger and the Pages app. You needed a separate app
Pages too.
just to monitor the damn pages that you have on Facebook.
App,
you've got that one too?
Yeah, I do. I have that one too.
And now there's Moments, which is Facebook's Photos app.
Which I got to say.
Maybe there's more. I don't even know.
I'm probably not going to install Moments. Because I don't even like the way Facebook structures its photos. You can't put things into albums. It's terrible.
Facebook sucks.
You know what the only Facebook good image thing is? Instagram.
Oh, they bought that, right?
Oh, yeah, they've owned it for a while. But why isn't Instagram taking over all the photos? That's what they should have
that doesn't make any sense.
They should have made.
Why do they need another
app? What
they
should have done is they should have scrapped their photos entirely, put it all into Instagram, and said,
that would have made sense.
That Instagram would be the separate app, but it would be Instagram-based photos, and you would just be able to see people's Instagram feeds on Facebook.
So you could argue that anyone actively using Facebook's AutoSync will have already downloaded Moments. And for those of you just tuning in, Facebook is saying if you don't download our new Pictures app, we're going to delete all your AutoSync photos.
You better download our app or else.
Like the person in the tweet above,
it's your photos.
Entirely possible Facebook will be removing photos that people forgot or didn't realize were synced. But it's still, to say the least, not the kindest of tactics to delete photos when Facebook certainly has the resources to go on storing them. It's blatantly aggressive push, says The Verve, to get people to download Moments, which Facebook seems to be hoping will be its next big app. And it's not the first time Facebook's been aggressive about moving people to another one of its apps. 2 years ago, they
offer you an app that you can't refuse.
That's pretty well. You can refuse it, but it's not a very nice tactic. 2 years ago, they removed Messenger from their core Facebook app, requiring people to download Messenger's own app to keep using it on mobile. And that was an annoying shift for some, but maybe not on quite the same level as what it's doing for Moments. It's not like Facebook would delete your chat account. If you are a Facebook user and use their AutoSync feature, you have until July 7th to either download their new app or download a zip file of your synced photos. Now, presumably, they are still on your phone, right? So if you synced them with Facebook, they're probably all still on your phone, unless you got a new phone or deleted the photos off the phone.
Or you could just go into Facebook and approve them.
Let's go to Tim. He's in Wyoming. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Tim.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Thanks. I'm glad to hear a little bit of disagreement on the show tonight. It's the lifeblood of Free Talk Live, I think. And you guys are
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun.
Not you don't have the same viewpoint every night. It's always a good thing, but not that you do. That's not what I mean. But no, has there been a bus camera update tonight? I'm kidding.
What?
He's referring to Sarah from New Mexico calling at least twice now about bus video cameras on public buses, public
they've been
transportation.
around forever.
No, but what he's referring to is Sarah in New Mexico has called twice about it now. So she's called more than once about the same topic. So he's jokingly asking if there has been an update on the bus cameras from Sarah. No, she called tonight, but it wasn't on that topic.
Mexico. Yeah, no, okay. Anyway, no, I didn't hear the show earlier. No, I was actually going to say, Johnson was reading you were reading the report from somewhere, and I noticed you guys were sort of disrespecting Alex Jones's take on things. But,
I don't know what his take is on this. I haven't read it yet. I was joking.
I don't know his take either. All I know is that he believes that Michelle Obama is in fact a man.
Look, I don't know what his take is. I just am presuming that Alex Jones is going to have a conspiracy theory about the Omar Mateen shooting. Hang on, Tim, if you want to continue on that line of thinking here. Hour number 3 is on the way. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype. Skype username here is LRN.FM. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever you want. What's it like when you inherit millions of dollars? Maybe it's not as good as you think it is. It's Free Talk Live.
The root cause of most of society's ills is neither malice nor negligence, but a mere superstition, an unquestioned assumption which has been accepted on faith by nearly everyone of all ages, races, religions, education, and income levels. The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose exposes the myth for what it is, showing how nearly everyone, as a result of one particular unquestioned assumption, is directly contributing to violence and oppression without even realizing it. Find The Most Dangerous Superstition on Amazon and larkinrose.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is $2 higher at $1,287 per ounce. Silver is even at $17.47 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $690 US. Robertson Roberts is your trusted name in precious metals for nearly 40 years, providing information on how you can diversify your investments. Give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.38 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,284 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $689. Antiwar.com reports a big unresolved issue for Afghanistan is the Durand Line question. Initially negotiated between Afghanistan and Britain as a line of control, represents a de facto border that neither side fully accepts, with some Afghan officials arguing the real border extends deep into Pakistan, enveloping the tribal areas and more. Fighting erupts in that area sometimes, with the respective nations' border guards guarding very different borders, and on Sunday night into Monday Monday morning, heavy gunfire was traded, ending with Pakistan closing its main border crossing, 1 Afghan guard killed, and a total of 22 wounded on both sides. This latest fighting was sparked by Pakistan installing more of its border fence, which by Pakistani reckoning is some 30 meters into Pakistani territory, and by Afghanistan reckoning is right in the middle of Afghanistan. Arguments ensued and eventually gunfire. Pakistan's foreign ministry lodged a strong protest to the Afghan government after the incident, saying they expected Afghan officials to fully investigate what happened and to cooperate with mutual security along the border. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a Baltimore police officer on trial for the controversial death of Freddie Gray heard testimony Monday from a fellow officer who also faces charges stemming from the incident. Caesar Goodson was the officer who drove the police van immediately following Gray's arrest in April 2015 and who faces a second-degree murder charge in his death. Also charged with manslaughter and other related counts, Goodson went to trial last week. On Monday, Officer William Porter was called to the witness stand by prosecutors to recount the events of the incident. Last year, Porter's prosecution was interrupted by a mistrial, and officials say he will be retried later this year. On the stand Monday, Porter testified that Gray did not show obvious signs of trouble after his arrest and placement inside the van for transport. Gray sustained a severe spinal cord injury during the trip to the police station, which led to his death a week later. Prosecutors have argued that the officers did not buckle Gray in the van with a seatbelt, which was standard police protocol. 6 Baltimore officers have been charged in the incident. Porter and another, Edward Nero, who was acquitted last month, have already gone through legal proceedings. The other 3 will stand trial between July and October. All have pled not guilty. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. Reuters reports the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday refused to revive a Puerto Rico debt restructuring law, putting the U.S. territory at risk of a messy default unless Congress this month passes legislation to help the Caribbean island survive its crippling fiscal crisis. The justices ruled 5-2 that Puerto Rico's 2014 statute, which would have let it cut billions of dollars in debt at public utilities over creditors' objections, conflicted with federal bankruptcy law. The justices left in place a 2015 appeals court ruling invalidating the law called the Recovery Act. Passage of legislation now advancing in the U.S. Congress is likely the only remaining option to restructure Puerto Rico's debt in a bid to avoid a default in the U.S. territory of about 3.5 million people that is burdened by a $70 billion debt load it has said it cannot pay. The U.S. House of Representatives last Thursday overwhelmingly passed legislation creating a federal control board to help Puerto Rico cope with its debt and sent the bill to the U.S. Senate for consideration. Puerto Rico does not have Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the Supreme Court, said Puerto Rico is not considered a U.S. state in one part of bankruptcy law, meaning it cannot authorize its municipal agencies to restructure debt. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg dissented. This has been FPP Radio News.
Officials at PepsiCo announced today the upcoming launch of Mountain Dew Cineblast after the company's market research team unknowingly fell victim to a malicious focus group that convinced them cinnamon-flavored Mountain Dew was the next big thing.
We were the people in the focus group. They couldn't get enough of it. And then they said, the more cinnamon, the better. So we are going to put in more cinnamon. We are really excited for people to try this product.
According to PepsiCo's data, all gathered from a single group of ill-intentioned respondents, customers of all ages will love the new soft drink's murky brownish-green color and will soon be lining up to try the carbonated beverage jam-packed with ground cinnamon. Various members of the focus group told reporters they believed the company had made a great decision.
Cineblast is the best. I mean, I can't wait to tell all of my friends to go buy this thing.
Yeah. The only way they can make it better is if they took a couple of raw eggs, mixed them up in the bottle.
people would go nuts.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program, and you can join us here toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. A lot of comments so far tonight regarding the Orlando shooting, the mass shooting that happened over the weekend. Who was Omar Mateen? Was he indeed a ISIS operative, or was he just a confused, angry gay man who hated himself and hated the gay community that rejected him because he was an angry man who apparently had spent the last 3 years as a regular at the Pulse nightclub, the very same nightclub that he shot up over the weekend. Of course, there are conspiracy theories afoot as well. It's Ian and Johnson in the studio tonight. Let's go back to Tim in Wyoming. Tim, you're back on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the good segue there. A lot of conspiracy theories, and here's Tim in Wyoming. Great. No. What I was going to say. Now, Joe Biggs, who works for Alex Jones, was a staff sergeant in the Army. He's retired. He said he did multiple tours of duty in the Middle East. He knows firearms. He knows military tactics, and he was down in Orlando interviewing people who'd been at the club, and there were several eyewitnesses, or several ear witnesses, you might say, because they heard shots coming from multiple areas of the club. So the 50 by one person is probably not impossible, but most likely not true. So, and there's another thing. Possibly his wife was involved. His wife may have been involved in the shooting as well. So, and she may have been fortunate enough to fortunate in her mind, but she may have been able to get away from that and not be apprehended or killed at the scene. So, like I said, that was multiple magazines and multiple shooters, and it doesn't add up. That's the whole thing. I mean, if we think about the San Bernardino situation, how many extra people were there, et cetera, it may have been the same kind of setup. And I'm not saying that's exactly what did happen.
It's very difficult for one person to carry 30 round magazines.
It's a lot of weight.
You could do it.
You could do it, but it's not a simple task. To be doing that and reloading and firing at the same time, one-handed,
Well,
we're talking like the Terminator here.
Well, if you ever watch anybody who's extremely adept with semi-auto or full-auto firearms, they have a method for changing magazines. Within a half a second, you can have a new magazine in, or maybe less. It depends on how you have your magazines staggered. It depends on how you carry your magazines. It depends on what you're firing and the whole situation you're in. But
I resent that you're calling it a magazine. It's an assault clip, sir.
Pardon me?
I said I resent that you're calling it a magazine. It's an assault clip, sir.
Well, actually, I'd say that assault clips are what comes from the mainstream media.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, really. I mean, there's the truth.
It's got the shoulder thing that goes up,
Yeah, right. The microphone. Did you see Thank You for Smoking?
Yes.
Did you ever saw that?
Yeah, I own it. I own that DVD.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Good. But anyway, what I was going to say also, that he, if he did it all by himself, it'd be pretty amazing. But as I say, there were ear witnesses, so to speak, of other shooters in the club.
Well, that sounds like more like one more or like many more. I mean, it's kind of hard to discern that in a like there's echoes off buildings.
Right, there could have been an echo inside. There could have been also. It could have been also so loud that the people's ears were ringing, because your ears will ring.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Unless you went in there with some sort of silencer, if you want to call it, some kind of.
Seems unlikely.
Seems very unlikely. A silencer that's going to silence an AR is probably very illegal.
No, not necessarily.
Apparently, he did buy these guns legally.
I mean, he's not law enforcement.
Well, silencers, so to speak. I mean, a suppressor, basically, not silencer. They don't make them totally quiet.
Right.
A suppressor is legal for you to buy. There's a company called Silencer Shop. You can buy them through them. You can buy them through your local gun dealer. And they'll buy them probably from Silencer Shop. But there are a lot of companies that make suppressors. So what I'm saying is if the person went in there and
but the suppressors that for something like an AR-15, for a hunting rifle, they're not. It's not like a suppressor that you're going to see in a movie. It's not like it's not sounding like an arrow. I mean,
no, they don't sound like somebody just kissing the air or something like that. It's not like that. It's just it sounds like a not a snap. It's more of a quiet pop sound.
Right.
That's basically what it would be. But if a person opened up with a 30-round magazine, full automatic, and this is the thing, okay, was his firearm modified to fire full automatic, or was it semi-automatic only? That's another issue right there. If he was able to kill 50 people, okay, fine. I can understand it's a possibility to kill 50 people with a semi-automatic firearm, squeezing the trigger for each shot. Yes, that's possible. But at the same time, fully automatic, you can just basically rake the crowd.
But doesn't a silencer also, really kind of reduce accuracy and
No,
really?
not at all. I mean, if you look at the special operations people, they use there are many different firearms they use. There's a Heckler and Koch 45 that they use. There's quite a few firearms that they use. There's 145 that's built specifically to be suppressed, and from at 25 yards, a headshot at 20. Well, I mean, for some of these special operations commands, special forces trained, a 50-yard shot in the head is not a problem, even with the extra weight of the suppressor or whatever. But what I'm saying is that if you have the extra stability of two hands on a firearm, which you'd have with an AR-15 or a shoulder-fired weapon of some kind, you could hit multiple targets at a greater level of accuracy than with a handgun. And I'm not advocating for either one of those things happening ever, obviously, but at the same time, a person who went to Saudi Arabia, which he did, and was trained in military tactics to do certain things. Now, maybe his wife was as well, but he was for sure trained in Saudi Arabia to do what he did. So,
well, if his wife was involved in this, then you'd think she would have skipped town at this point.
Well, I don't know if she has or did she or didn't she? Is she still around or?
She's still around there.
She's talking to federal agents.
She's been talking, and she's saying that she knew in advance. There was some reports that she knew
she was with him.
They drove to the club. That they went and they checked the place out. And if she knew in advance, that would make her culpable under Florida law for conspiracy.
She claims she tried to talk him out of carrying out the attack, according to a report at NBC News just filed 2 hours ago.
And the story is that he's violent, so he could have been threatening her.
Or a few hours ago.
I doubt that she was. She went and paced out. They went and paced out Disney World. They went and paced out Disney World and checked out Disney World's security areas as far as what could be done there. Imagine a target-rich environment like that. If you were to get in there with a firearm or, somehow, I mean...
Maybe she drove him to do it because she knew he was gay and she was resentful.
Yeah, I'd like to know what she has to say about him apparently going to this club for 3 years. What's that all about?
Well, His father was anti-homosexual, railing against them, and at the same time saying that those people that were homosexual needed to be killed.
It's also not uncommon for gay people to pretend like they're straight in order to satisfy what they believe the demands of society or their family are. So apparently this guy has been married twice and is the father of a 3-year-old boy. So, he was able to have sex with a woman and be with more than one woman for a period of time, but ultimately had a secret lifestyle.
Well, you're speculating.
Okay, so what you're saying is, Johnson, that it wasn't a secret, that he was just going there openly to the club? I suppose his wife might have known that he was going to the gay club. She might have known, and she might have,
maybe he was going to check it out to,
for 3 years?
I don't know.
Thanks for the call, Tim. I appreciate it. Toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
I also don't know the reputability of the supposed witnesses that saw him for 3 years.
All right, fair enough. There were 4 of them, though, claiming they've seen him there at the club over a few years, claiming he had to be kicked out. I mean, presumably the club officials would be able to comment on that, too. This is Free Talk Live.
Fellas, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all. Oh, no. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration. Plus, a free extra gift so sensual, we can't mention it on the radio. And to top it all off, we'll even throw in free shipping on your entire order. And no, we're not teasing. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type BABE33 for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use offer code BABE33 at adamandeve.com.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial toll-free to join us here. The number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The Orlando shooter, Omar Mateen, apparently had himself a wife. She is telling the federal agents she tried to talk her husband out of carrying out the attack. Noor Zahi Salman is his wife's name. She told FBI she was familiar, or rather she was with him when he bought ammunition and a holster. Several officials say that she told the FBI that she even once drove him to the gay nightclub Pulse because he wanted to scope it out. Mateen, of course, then ended up shooting up Pulse on early Sunday morning. 49 are confirmed dead, 53 injured. 27 of those injured victims remain hospitalized as of today, 6 in critical condition. So, again, you're certainly welcome to comment on this developing story. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And would recommend you check out Bitcoin.com to learn more about the stateless, free market, non-political currency. It can't be inflated or controlled by any government. And by using the money of the state, you're helping the state. So stop doing that. You've got your incredible alternative available right now. It's Bitcoin. So learn it, use it, and spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. Let's talk more about money here, something that everyone can relate to instead of madman shooters.
Mass shooting to something a little more aspirational, like having a lot of money.
Except this guy came into the money. It was an inheritance that you're going to tell us about?
Having it is... people aspire to having money, not necessarily earning it.
That's true. But you could argue that if you earn the money, you have a better respect for it.
Sure thing.
And if you just have money lavished upon you, then you don't really have a respect for how it came to be on you in the first place.
Well, I think this guy does have respect for it.
All right.
So
where's this coming from, by the way?
This is coming from Market Watch.
All right.
So it's like one of those advice columns. So, dear moneyologist, I was hoping you could help me wrap my head around a situation, which is maybe similar to other questions you've had, and perhaps a little more philosophical than a financial problem. My father passed away almost 2 years ago, leaving me, his only child, with a fully invested portfolio of over $15 million to take care of, with the help of a few financial advisors, of course. I have been struggling ever since figuring out what to do about it, what to think of it, and what place I have to take in the process of being my father's son. This sounds like the burden of daddy's money, but I want to take more control of what happens to it. I was 21 and about to graduate in marketing, BA, at HEC Montreal in Canada at that time, and decided to take another major in finance the next year so that I could have a better understanding of the market and not be overwhelmed by my advisor's counsel. I have also read Benjamin Graham's Intelligent Investor, which taught me a lot about how to think as an investor. Okay. Still, it is not the technical side that's troubling me, but the human aspects of the whole process, learning to live as the old man's junior. I feel as if I have so much to say and should send you a novel instead of an email. I'll try to make it as short as possible. Some of my advisors have been handling my family's money for over 10 years and view me as a mindless, spoiled kid. One of them has notably neglected to rebalance the portfolio according to pre-established investment plan without breaking any CFA ethics, which cost us quite a bit of money over the last 2 years, with very different market performances on top of that. Even so, they didn't seem to take my concerns seriously and kind of wish I'd just go back to playing with my toys. What should I do? Is there a magic trick I can do to gain their respect, or do I have to threaten them to move the money elsewhere so that they consider listening to Junior? I've been thinking about meeting some new advisors to build a new relationship.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can always fire those guys.
Yep, but I have no idea what to look for in a good advisor apart from past returns and strategy. I have absolutely no intention to trade myself or manage that much money on my own at 23 years of age. I still have a lot of experience to gain and wish to live a normal life without all that pressure until then. Thank you for your time, the only son in Montreal.
All right.
Dear Only, on the contrary, your letter may touch on familiar territory of inheritance, but your tone could not be more different than many letters the moneyologist receives. There is no self-pity, no anger, no plotting, no melodrama, and no revenge. Not that I don't appreciate the honesty of those emails, too. Frankly, they're fun to read and give me a lot to work with. It seems that you have thought very carefully about the kind of service you want from your financial advisor, respect being number one on that list, and have enough humility to know that you don't want or need to manage this money yourself. What's more, you've made efforts to brush up on the basics of investing. Bravo on all counts. Your father would be proud.
Yeah, it sounds like, I agree, it sounds like he's at the very least taking this seriously.
Yeah.
And is interested in handling the money as responsibly as possible.
Right.
So, I mean, why the investment advisors, given that he seems to be a responsible young man, would be so rude to him, I don't know.
Not very smart on their part if you want to stay in business and keep managing and making money off of that money.
There's somebody out there who will treat you right and take your money.
Yep. So he goes on to say, trust your instincts. Your father wouldn't have left this amount of money in your care if he thought you wouldn't make the right decisions in order to manage it. Following an agreed plan of action is the very least they should do. If they can't do that, it's time to see what else is out there. To somehow brush off your feedback after such a mistake, they are working for you, remember, not the other way around.
Right.
Makes them complacent at best as well as possibly incompetent at worst. There are plenty of advisors out there who would relish the chance to manage your $15 million, safeguard your father's hard work, and make sure you're getting a good return on your investments so that you can live your life. Trust your instincts. Your father wouldn't have left this amount of money in your care if he thought you wouldn't make the right decisions in order to manage it. And then he goes on to say, what should you look for in a financial advisor? Well, he goes on to quote this. Wealth manager Carola Diaz Jr. says, you shouldn't be bamboozled by titles. Chartered Financial Analyst, CFA, and Certified Financial Planner, CFP, are some of the most prestigious designations in the industry, he says. Check out the National Association of Personal Finance Advisors, the NAPFA.
Okay. He's giving him some recommendations.
Yeah. There's an equivalent in Canada. Also check out the CFP board to see if your choice was ever disciplined. This could take the form of a public letter of admonition, a temporary suspension of the individual CFP certification, or its permanent revocation, depending on the severity of the breach or other mitigating circumstances. The same rules apply if you are looking for a stockbroker or an accountant. Beware of hidden commissions or fees or promises of unrealistic returns. Don't hire the first person you interview. Don't be cajoled into hiring friends or relatives who pitch you their services and never give him or her complete control. The candidates should also ask you questions about your financial goals, long-term plans, and willingness to take risks without you pushing them. If they don't show an interest now, that's unlikely to change. Ask about their payment structure. If they work purely commission, they may take more risks. They may take more risks than you're comfortable with.
Seems like good advice.
Yeah. There's a little bit more here.
Is it worth sharing? I mean, not too many people listening probably have $15 million to invest.
No, but I think, people probably would be interested in, how would you handle this? If you are going to come into any money, I mean, maybe some people are going to inherit some money, and
hold that thought. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about money. You got some thoughts? Share them with us.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST hosting.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind here toll free. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Johnson.
And don't forget, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. It is a Reddit-based front page, which means that you can create the content that you see there. You find a news article or a blog post or YouTube video or something you want to share with us and our listeners, just submit it right there to the front page of our website, and then other listeners can vote on it. Vote it up if they like, down if they don't. And you can vote on things as well there. So go and get interactive for free at freetalklive.com. Johnson, you're sharing with us from, what was it,
Market Watch.
Market Watch. Market Watch, a kind of a question and answer about what to do to this guy, for this guy who's got $15 million that he inherited.
It's interesting because it's aspirational. You know, obviously people like to think about having, $15 million, suddenly in their laps would be nice. But also, I just think that some people, maybe you're going to inherit some money from family. Maybe it's only going to be like, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, but that's still, who knows what people will inherit, but you still got to do something with that. And it's probably not a good idea to be like, I'm going to buy scratch-off tickets.
Nope, not a good idea. Nope, definitely not an idea.
I'm going to spend it on a new truck. It just probably, that might be.
There are worse ideas than a new truck. There are worse
ideas than that. I'm going to
if you need a truck.
I need a new Ski-Doo.
So this guy's got $15 million and various different now that's the total amount of all the investments or whatever, right? He's got a whole portfolio that he inherited.
Yep.
And so one of his concerns is that,
but that's something that's going to make a bunch of interest, and that's probably he can live off.
Hopefully, yeah. One of his problems is that the managers of his portfolios
weird decisions
are rude to him. Mm-hmm. They are not treating him like he
and
deserves.
They're losing him money.
Well, possibly, yeah.
In one case, they didn't follow the instructions, left the financial investment plan and lost a bunch of money.
So it definitely sounds like it's time for him to, make a move to a different investment advisor.
I mean, they make, the advice here is pretty simple. They're saying, make sure you check out the pay structure, how they're paid. If they're on commission, they might be taking more risks than you'd want them to. Just basically to make sure that they act according to a fiduciary standard, which means that they have a legal duty to act solely in your interest. I mean, in that case, under the system we have, we don't live in, Liberty land yet. So, you want some level of force involved when someone can walk away with, millions of your money by basically,
obviously
not doing what they're supposed to with it.
Obviously, you want to hire someone with a reputation, and they made some specific suggestions.
Don't rely on the law. That would be another piece of advice that we'll give you that
for sure
Money Watch or Market Watch is not.
Well, right, but they did suggest there were industry associations that he could approach, that he could check on somebody's reputation, see if there had been complaints filed about that person.
Mm-hmm. The more questions you have, the more respect you will earn from these candidates, and vice versa. You can inherit a financial advisor, but you don't have to stick with them, says Beverly McBride, a financial advisor based in St. Simons Island, Georgia. And the same goes for your portfolio. Your age, risk tolerance, and personal goals likely are vastly different from your father's and should be reflected in your holdings, she says. Client education should be part of your new or current advisor's practice. She adds, look for an advisor who works to give you a little better understanding of investing in general and your portfolio. You don't have to make any hasty decisions, and you can use this information to start a dialogue with your current team, and seeing what else is out there is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I would say so.
And that's it for that. I mean, that's just, I just thought it was a very interesting story with this guy, typically when you hear about inheritance, what you hear about is somebody doing really stupid things with it, and that's how it ruins their life. This guy, it's ruining his life because he just doesn't feel like he's getting enough respect for making the right decisions with his financial advisor.
Well, did he actually
really
use the word,
young.
Did he actually use the term ruining his life, or is that a concept you put on this story?
He says, this is the quote from the headline of the article.
Okay.
I inherited $15 million, and it has mostly been a nightmare.
Okay, all right. I guess that's a little different from ruining his life.
Sure, right. Not ruining his life. Yeah.
Fretting around like what to do with $15 million could be frustrating for sure if you've got investment advisors who aren't helpful and think you're a jerk or think you're a punk kid.
Right.
But ruined his life. No, I wouldn't say it's quite that.
Right.
But either way, nonetheless,
nightmare is a kind of a strong term too. But who knows.
Well, it could be difficult to deal with. Like, I mean, if you're inheriting this investment advisor, I don't know what the contracts look like, but presumably,
I mean, especially probably when he was losing money, was probably very, very large sums.
Well, who knows?
And so there's percentages of things.
But if you're inheriting something, if you're inheriting an agreement, you usually don't just get to break that agreement, any old time. If, for instance, and by the way, I'm by no means some sort of investment wizard or anything like that. But I do know that when I purchased a house years ago that had tenants in it, I got a duplex, the house that we're in right now, it had tenants in it when I bought it. And so I inherited the lease. So I don't just because you're buying the place doesn't mean that you just get to flush everybody out who's there. You've got to take on those leases and you've got to honor the terms of those leases.
Right.
And if you don't like those terms, then don't buy the house.
Right.
But ultimately, I inherited those leases, and so I kept I had to follow whatever the leases say. I did give some of the people noticed that I had to have them leave because I wanted to move into the house, and I gave them plenty of notice in which to do that. So I find myself wondering what this guy's agreements are with the current investment advisors. Can you cancel that deal anytime, or is it like one of those things where you're under a yearly contract and you can only cancel the agreement when let's say you went into the contract on June 1st of whatever year, and oh crap, it's June 14th now, and you've got to wait till the next year to cancel this guy.
And didn't you have some issues when you moved in, like with some?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so
the people who I'd given 90 days notice to had not left.
Right. So sometimes when you give notice, it doesn't work out in your favor. They do whatever they can to sabotage you.
Well, in the
Like,
case
they don't like the terms anyway, even though they signed onto the agreement. They don't like.
In the case of renters, there are all kinds of additional laws that are involved in whatever the agreement happens to be. So it really sometimes doesn't even matter what the lease says. The law will override it, and there's all these things called renters' rights, where basically the renters get to screw over the landlords if they want to. You know, oh, well, I'm not going to pay, and you can't kick me out right away because the law says this. Or, you know, you have to afford me this amount of notice, and you have to let me live here until... I mean, there's different laws everywhere. Some places it's worse, like in California, the renters have way more rights, and the landlords get screwed harder, from what I understand. I've never been a landlord out in California, and I wouldn't want to be.
Right.
So I've actually written agreements with my tenants that specifically claim that the government law doesn't apply to them, and that any issues that happen as a result of the disagreement about the lease would have to go to an arbitrator. So there's an arbitration provision in my leases. Whether that'll hold up in a government court or not remains to be seen. But thankfully, I haven't had any kind of issues with tenants since that time. And again, I didn't choose those tenants, right? I was the one who inherited them and showed up expecting to be able to throw down a mattress after a 26-hour drive from Florida to come to New Hampshire, and the house is trashed. They're both still, they both were still living here, and one of them was gone, I guess. The other one actually came back while we were.
A landlord could just go in and be like, "Well, I live here now, so."
That's what I did.
Oh yeah, so.
Well, I'd given them plenty of notice that their lease was up.
Right.
And it was required to give them 30 days. I gave them 90 days. I basically gave them as much time as I could. As soon as the house closed, I wrote them the notice of, you guys are going to have to leave in a few months. So it wasn't like I was a jerk or anything.
Did you start moving their stuff out to the curb? I mean, like, what did you do when you walked in and you moved in? They're still here.
Well, one of them was gone. The other one, actually, both were gone when we arrived. The one who was sort of still living, the other one, I don't know what his deal was. I never saw him, never met him. But the one who he actually came back while we were moving stuff into the house and moving trash out of the house. Basically, we just had to clean enough trash out of the way to where we could actually put down the blow-up mattress and pass out. And that took 2 hours to clean that much trash out.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It was pretty gross.
That's pretty awful.
So let's see. You can talk about money. Maybe you've come into a lot of money and it's been a frustration for you.
Maybe you've come into a lot of trash and it's been a frustration for you.
It usually is with trash. I would have much rather have walked into a house full of money, and unfortunately it wasn't the case. But you can join us here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll talk about money coming up here with Puerto Rico.
Get a pen and get ready for an important announcement. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, OIC Tax can help. Our retired IRS agents, tax attorneys, and CPAs are fighting for you. That's what we do here at OIC Tax. We help you survive after the IRS has come knocking. OIC Tax can help you with IRS hardship programs, offer in compromise, installment agreements, and the preparation of past and current tax returns. OIC Tax offers convenient representation for small businesses, corporations, W-2 wage earners, and even SBA loans in default. So stop waiting. Get a fresh start. Call OIC Tax at 1-800-314-4491 now. Bank levies, wage garnishments, and property seizures can be devastating to your life. OIC Tax has an A rating from the Better Business Bureau and is registered with the IRS as an e-file provider. Let OIC Tax help you. 1-800-314-4491. 1-800-314-4491. That's 1-800-314-4491.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, veterinarian and naturopathic physician. The Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy with an important message. Take charge of your health. Do not continue to blindly follow the system that has failed us all. I appreciate GCN listeners because you're open-minded and intelligent. If our system is so great, why is it that the United States, the USA, ranks nearly 60th worldwide in longevity and number 1 in obesity? All the while we spend more money than all the other countries combined annually on unnecessary health care procedures and toxic drugs. It doesn't take much to get on track. Not with the government or pharmaceutical companies, but rather you in control of your own health with a basic understanding of nutrition and supplementation. FDI Longevity has the finest quality health, sports, and energy supplements available. GCN listeners are invited to join our team of people who want to stay healthy well into old age. We are currently looking for specialists to represent FDI Longevity and Save America. To buy products at wholesale prices or join our business team, go to GCNteam.com. That's GCNteam.com. Support GCN. Get healthy.
This is the Onion Week in Review. This week, mothers across the nation invented a new drug to worry about, confirming that the completely fictitious new substance was appearing in schoolyards across the nation and is easily created from simple household products like sugar, window cleaner, and petroleum jelly. Calling the totally made-up narcotic Scramp, mothers in desperate need of something to fret over deluded themselves into constantly agonizing over the widespread drug epidemic that exists solely in their minds.
My son sits in his room for hours and hours. It must be Scramp. He's a Scramp head. I bet they'll figure out how to scramp with this, too.
In other news, a man confidently strides through a beaded curtain without parting it. A father takes a picture of his daughter every day from birth until he abandons his family. And the same homeless man is always begging for change on the same United flight. Stalled contract negotiations have prevented me from reviewing any more news until I receive a co-producer credit. But for more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Ovaltine. Give your kids the nutrition they need to be their best. Visit us at ovaltineusa.com. Telling your child about healthy food choices is important, but showing her what to eat goes a lot further. Have her help create the grocery list, then bring her to the store with you. Picking out healthy foods together helps kids get in the habit of thinking about what they're eating every day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that's on your mind. Toll free. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username for you to take control of the airwaves is lrn.fm. We've been talking about money, specifically $15 million of inheritance and some bad investment advisors who are being less than friendly to the individual who inherited the money.
Who's actually making responsible decisions about what to do with inheritance rather than, going off and buying a yacht and a Maserati and, $1 million house.
Right. Like, responsible decisions, unlike the government with your money, because at least with an investment advisor, you've got a contract. You give this person money. They have a supposed reputation that's decent enough in the marketplace. That's why you chose them in the first place. They're under an agreement. They have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of your money as best as they possibly can. With the government, you have no such contract. So when they get your money through taxes, they just do whatever it is that they want to do with it and eventually get themselves into billions of dollars worth of debt. And ultimately...
Mostly blowing it up. Like they actually, they'll buy things that explode and they burn it on fire.
That's the federal
government.
government.
Pack it into a tube and then shoot it at people.
That's what the federal government does. In this case, we're actually going to talk about a state government, although in this case, not even a state, Puerto Rico. Now, some people want Puerto Rico to be a state, but others, and I think rightfully so, do not want Puerto Rico to join the union. But that's not what the story's about, whether or not they are going to be a state. It's about their debt. You might have heard about California, Illinois, Detroit. There's some places in the United States, some municipalities and states that are in severe debt, like billions of dollars worth of debt, because government cannot do anything right. Because government can't manage the money right. Even though they get millions and billions of dollars every single year, they're terrible at managing money. And so they end up making it so they owe too much money on certain things, like in this case, utilities. Let me jump into the story here, and then what do they do about that? Well, they can't keep raising taxes past a certain point because you can only bleed so much money out of the population.
But they'll try, and they don't seem to understand that, so they'll just keep.
But they can
trying
default.
And trying.
They can default, in most cases. But in this case, the interesting detail is TheHill.com reporting the Supreme Court has ruled this week that Puerto Rico cannot restructure the debts of its public utilities to avoid a financial crisis. closing off one of the island's last remaining options for avoiding default without help from Congress. In a 5-2 ruling, the justices said that although the government and people of Puerto Rico should not have to wait for possible congressional action to avert the financial crisis, the Constitution doesn't allow them to rewrite a statute that Congress enacted in 1984. While states can allow municipalities to seek such debt relief, the lower court said, Congress had never given Puerto Rico that right. Quote, the plain text of the bankruptcy code begins and ends our analysis, says Justice Clarence Thomas in the majority opinion. Quote, resolving whether Puerto Rico is a state for the purposes of the preemption provisions begins with the language of the statute itself, and that is also where the inquiry should end, for the statute's language is plain. Puerto Rico had long been included as a state under the bankruptcy code, but Congress amended that definition to exclude the territory in 1984. So basically, states get all these benefits that Puerto Rico doesn't get.
Right.
A state government can go ahead and restructure its public utilities before bankruptcy.
Like statehood, like Puerto Rico's been offered the opportunity to become a state many, many times, and each time they vote it down.
That's my understanding, yeah.
So, I mean...
Can't blame them for it. I mean...
Right.
I mean, I would hope that the people in Puerto Rico want to break away from the United States entirely, especially at this point. The island has more than $72 billion in outstanding debt, with public utilities accounting for $20 billion of that total. Seeking to alleviate the burden, Puerto Rico enacted legislation in 2014 that would have provided the electric and water utilities on the island an alternative way to restructure their debts. Investors filed a legal challenge to that measure, citing the 1984 law. Supreme Court on Monday affirmed the lower court's ruling that found the utilities cannot restructure the debt under federal bankruptcy rules. So that just basically means they're not going to be able to pay this unless Congress can give them a bailout. Financial reform advocates say they hope the court's decision will motivate Congress to finish a bill addressing their debt before the island territory defaults on a $2 billion payment on July 1st. Now, of course, my question is here, what happens if they default?
Right.
What happens when a government defaults on billions of dollars worth of money that is owed to their public utilities? How does that even work? What does that even mean? Do they then sell off the assets? Because usually if you default on your debts, you got a bunch of debts for a credit card or some loan or something like that, and you can't pay it. Well, okay, what kind of assets do you have? Let's see if you can liquidate your assets and try to give these people
the power company just goes, well, then we're not providing you service anymore.
Well, I think it's a state-run power company, though.
Oh, interesting.
So it'd be one thing if it was a privately run power company. I'm not really clear on that. It sounds that way based on this. They're saying public utilities. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean they're publicly owned. That could just mean it's a private company being called a public utility. So maybe that's something you could look into, Johnson. Find out what the power company is in Puerto Rico and see if it's actually owned by the state. Because if not, then that is one thing the companies can do is they can say, well, state governments, we're not going to power your offices anymore. So good luck with that. But let's presume that they are state-funded or state-operated utilities. Like here in Keene, the water is provided by the city of Keene. So at some point, maybe the city of Keene has providers that they have to pay. I don't know about that. But ultimately, if you go into debt and you default on those payments, one of the common things that is done is, all right, well, what kind of assets can we take? In that case, does that mean that the Puerto Rican government then has to sell off the water and the power companies or whatever we're talking about here?
The Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority. That kind of sounds
pretty governmental. I think what the decision...
it's a public corporation that was founded in 1941.
What does that mean that it's a public corporation? Run by the government then, presumably?
It must be. I'm going to look a little bit more into it.
Eric Lecomte, executive director of Jubilee USA, says, I think what the decision makes clear is the only real option on the table is congressional legislation. Now that the House has passed some legislation, it's incumbent on the Senate to pass its version of that legislation, which, passed on Friday, would allow Puerto Rico to restructure its debt, including the amount held by the utilities. The government would not provide Puerto Rico with any money under the measure, and the territory's finances would be placed under the supervision of a new oversight board. The House bill has support from both parties, and so, it's likely the bail would.
So, PREPA is directed by a government board comprised of 9 members. 7 of its members are appointed by the governor of Puerto Rico with approval of the Senate. 2 of them represent the clients who elect them both through an election supervised by the Consumer Affairs Department. So those 2 are
definitely governmental.
Excuse me. The 2 that are elected by the clients are mostly just figureheads because they represented such a tiny minority. Like, what are they going to do?
Right. Puerto Rican people, politicians talking about how they can't allow this to happen. Paul Ryan said Monday the court's decision underscores the importance of getting the House bill to the president's desk to prevent a taxpayer bailout and help the people of Puerto Rico. So I guess, all right. So what they're saying here is that if this bill passes, then the debt can be restructured. There would be then a new oversight board which would oversee the finances of Puerto Rico and try to help do something to pay off this debt, because otherwise the only option is a taxpayer bailout. And so this is the midpoint. Right. This is the step in between a federal government bailout of the Puerto Rican government, which, of course, no one really wants to see that happen. There is no plan B for Puerto Rico right now, said Lecomte, and there are only 2 viable options: the legislation that's pending, and the other is direct negotiations between the creditors and the government of Puerto Rico. Lecomte doubts the territory would be able to reach an agreement with their creditors in time. We're not going to see a negotiated solution by July 1st. That is just not in the cards. The Supreme Court decision leaves Puerto Rico more dependent than ever on Congress to authorize means for the territory to avoid insolvency, and further that Puerto Rico and their agencies face a $2 billion payment on July 1st after already defaulting on a $370 million payment to the Government Development Bank. Justice Sotomayor...
The Government Development Bank.
Yeah.
That's
government's loaning government's money. Who issued a dissenting opinion, insisted that Puerto Rico's law created the only non-federal bankruptcy solution to restructure debts that could cripple its citizens. She wrote, quote, Congress could step in to resolve Puerto Rico's crisis, but in the interim, the government and the people of Puerto Rico should not have to wait for possible congressional action to avert the consequences of unreliable electricity, transportation, and safe water, consequences that members of the executive and legislature have described as looming humanitarian crises. Well, at least it's not Venezuela. So we'll see you tomorrow night. And if more develops in Puerto Rico, definitely let us know. It's always interesting to watch governments default on the debt that they are creating, because it usually doesn't lead to good things. Certainly hasn't for Detroit. We'll see you tomorrow night. Online in the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The latest edition of Rebel Love Show is next after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keenan, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, June 14th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.30.